Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. My name is Eric.
Hey, and I'm Pastor Mark.
Oh, thank you, Father Mark, for joining us today.
Yep, we'll get into why we're calling me that later, but, you know, you guys can refer to me that from now on.
Gracias, Padre.
Thank you.
Joining myself and Pastor Mark today are Christian, who... But this is, unfortunately, Christian's last time on the show.
Get wrecked, kid.
Yeah.
Bye.
Get out.
I'm not even going to be on this one.
You got 3 words. Choose them wisely.
And we also got Dylan.
Yeah.
Our man Dylan.
Who almost needs no introduction.
It's real nice to see you guys. Look at this. We're friends together. It's this wholesome morning. We get to sit down as a family. Isn't it nice when just friends come together like this?
Just enjoying a nice cup of coffee and some eggs
so
together,
good.
and we're about to talk some 40K.
It's nice. This is what family is all about. You know what? Let's go around. Let's ask.
Yeah.
Let's say one thing we're all grateful for.
Oh my
all right?
God.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to have such beautiful and successful friends to invite me onto their podcast. What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful that at the end of this episode,
Yeah.
Christian will leave the studio.
For the last time.
Yeah, for the last time.
Yeah.
And I think I might never have to see him again.
That's-
So I'm very grateful for that
One can hope.
opportunity.
That's so nice. Yeah, keep it going, Mark.
Yeah. I'm just grateful for weed, I think.
Hold on. I believe you found Jesus. Do you mean Jesus or weed?
Weed, yeah.
What's the,
I actually
difference?
got lost by Jesus and found the weed.
And became a pastor at the end of it. Fair enough.
Well, yeah. No, I'm actually trying to start a cult.
I think that's a different word. It's not, in fact, pastor. I think it's cult leader or
Well, no,
Father,
you
brother,
want a little bit of legitimacy to
sex
it. but-
master,
daddy.
Dungeon King.
dungeon king.
Christian, what do you love? What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful they haven't changed the locks on the studio yet. I can keep making appearances.
You know what? If they ever lock you out, I'll let you in. And if it's not to the studio, it's into my heart. Okay? You all belong there.
It's not a good place, Christian. Do not go there. Abort. Deny. We rebuke you, Dylan's heart.
So I got some gifts for everybody, all right? I figured we can just, like, drink one of these each and then talk
Monster
about our feelings.
energy.
What do you guys think about that?
I'm for it.
Yeah, dude, let's just have a sip each.
Holy
and then
crap.
let's talk about our feelings. I don't know. I feel like this would be really good content for like a YouTube channel or something like that.
So, you know, I've never actually drunk a Monster.
Are you serious?
Really?
I've never had a energy drink.
Okay, well the orange ones are shitty,
Actually?
so give it to Mark. Yeah, swap.
I've never had one. Like
Orange
any of
better
the
taste like
Rockstar.
The orange ones are
Carrots,
kind
or I'm
of
gonna
Do you
be
fuck
pissed.
with energy drinks?
Well, I've never done it ever.
You've never
So
done
you'll
energy drinks
do
before.
heroin, but you won't
That's
do
right.
energy drinks. Okay.
Yo, welcome to Big D's.
Do you
fucking
know what's
energy
in these things, Christian?
It says the souls of unborn children and Dylan blood. All right, it's gonna be sick, dude.
How many of these do you drink in a day?
I am primarily made of energy drinks. It's Big D's energy
Do you know what it
drinks.
says right on the can?
What does it say right in the can? Tell me.
Usage: 1 can maximum daily.
Yeah, by
Oh.
daily, it says. Oh, I mean, it's minutely.
Like I think
believe.
they mean like one flavor though. Like, don't stack up on multiple flavors. You're
Sure.
gonna get bored of it. You wanna.
Have a variety.
Well, let's take this journey together. Cheers, boys.
Cheers, boys.
Hey, cheers,
Well,
cheers.
everyone, welcome to Lorehammer.
You're not cheersing me. I'm
Cheers.
struggling to cheers you so. All right, cheers.
Okay.
So we're gonna get into this episode. We're talking about Minotaurs today, but we got a couple.
oh,
other...
it tastes like radioactive piss.
Oh, what's it taste like? The blue one's not bad. Here, let me try the green one. Yeah.
it's
Dude,
mine.
I got immunized on Tuesday, bro. No COVID here, man. I'm safe. I'm fucking protected. You understand? No? All right.
You
I
keep
just want
that-
you to know Monster doesn't count as immunization.
He has
Not the cure.
he doesn't have blood flowing through his body. It's just energy drink.
Yeah, tapped into the
Okay.
wall.
Wow.
Well, this is nice. I should...
Welcome.
So thank you, Dylan and Chris, for showing up on the show.
welcome, man.
Today's episode is number 91,
Yeah.
which is we're getting pretty high up there. Dylan pointed out that we are now 9 episodes away from episode 100, which is good. Thank you for proving that you can do some simple math
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps.
for us.
It
Dylan.
took me a while. It took me the whole drive here, but I eventually arrived at those
Yeah.
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do like some type of poll to see what we're gonna talk about. Maybe we'll talk about Bodie McBoatface for episode 100 because that's what happens when you do polls. But
That's exactly what
I'm-
happened.
One fucking poll,
yeah,
dude.
like I'm down for it though. I think that's the way to do it.
This is more enthusiasm you shared 5 minutes ago when I originally presented this idea. Y'all listening at home, I was like, sir, what's the plan for episode 100? every other podcast does a big thing for their round number, and you're all like, why don't we just go episode 99 into episode 101?
That's still the first contender right there, for sure.
Right
Just
now,
skip it.
we're just brainstorming right now.
Right.
So,
Well, listeners, if you want an exciting episode for episode 100, push these guys, man.
Yeah,
I'll do the same from my end. You know, I feel like the fans need it. We need some extra content.
Yeah,
we need more
come join the
powerful
Discord.
content.
Yeah.
if you need extra content, you should check out this podcast called Let's Talk Lorehammer, which focuses on the community of Lorehammer itself.
Wait, isn't that what we're doing here? Isn't this my episode of LTL? I got a little confused,
My
guys.
sweet summer child.
Aren't you my guests? What's going on?
But oddly enough, actually, the place to find out about LTL and the community of Lorehammer just happens to be our Discord.
Yeah, come check it out. It's an app you can download on your phone. It's super simple. It's just a chat room app, not that complicated.
Pretty simple to
Pretty
use.
simple, pretty cool.
Come hang out, share some 40K memes.
Come look at our pets, our plants.
Yeah,
Ooh.
share some stupid 40K theories that I'm just going to roll my eyes at because it's half-baked, half-cocked, and not hard at all, which is my least favorite thing in the world.
Generally, I just go there to party. I mean, if you're looking for a good time, it's the perfect place. It's full of rowdy people, crazy individuals. It's a motley crew. You know, come get your party on.
Especially if you are a member of our Patreon, or our Imperial Tithe, as we call it, because that's where you can participate in our monthly contests where we give out Games Workshop gift cards. I think one just ended the other day. The contest was Heroes of Your Faction.
Yeah.
So we wanted to see kind of like your big models, your showpiece models. Pretty neat. I don't know if you guys took a look at the
Did they announce who
submissions.
won? Yeah, I looked through.
They will announce that in the next couple days.
Da-da-da.
Yeah, so I think the new contest starts normally on the 1st. I believe submissions end on the 25th, and then the winner is announced on the 30th.
They need to give you more time to paint a model. Like, I'm thinking 6 months minimum.
That's
Wow.
that's for you, Christian.
Yeah, if
but-
you're a
The
better
slow burn
painter,
paint
this
contest,
wouldn't be a
yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
It's really a personal problem, Christian. If you have more talent, this is easily, just
But even if contests are not your thing, or you're not a member of our Patreon yet, which you should be, we also are running weekly events.
Yeah. We do lots of weekly events. I watched Hell's Reach last week. Next week, on Wednesday, I'm going to be watching Hell's Reach again. If you want further details, just go to Discord. You know, you can find stuff there.
Yeah.
But,
I've been
they're
doing,
sweet,
I've been
like-
doing some painting. I'm doing some modeling this Friday,
Ooh.
and it's been a while since I've actually put glue on plastic. So
Hell good.
yeah, it's gonna be nice.
Yeah, it's cool.
We have a lot of hangouts with some of our other people in the Discord, so there's always something going on. There's always something active happening. So if you're just looking for a place to hang out, chat 40K, shoot the shit with other Lorehammer people, lore whores as I like to call them.
Yeah.
It's really approachable. Like, there's always a thick amount of people like just hanging out in the voice chat. And if you jump in there, like, sometimes it's scary to click the button, but like if you get in there, people are generally pretty cool, and you can get along straight away.
Absolutely.
Even
I
if
just
you're
like to
quiet.
listen.
You just like you're a worker. That doesn't surprise me. You don't seem like a dominant kind of person, Christian. More of like sit in the corner and listen and be submissive. Yeah, that's more your speed.
I just like to watch.
Normally wearing a Superman suit from the closet.
You have to perform. That's how you get invited back to this place, man.
Dylan, if you could say in under 30 seconds what this next segment you're doing for LTL is, because I'm actually really excited for it. It sounds really fun.
Yeah, cool. So we are doing our own very own pub quiz. Discord has a really cool tool called the Stage Channel. Will essentially allow us to record a live episode of the podcast, and individual members can join as an audience, which is a default unmuted. So the idea is you can enter in pairs, and you'll compete against other pairs in the audience in a series of questions to find out who's the grand winner, essentially. Ooh. So it's really fun. It's going to be interactive. It should be next week. If you do want to be involved, jump on the Discord, flick me a message. I believe the time it's Thursday, 12 o'clock PT. So you'll need a buddy, you'll need a working mic, you'll both need to be available at that time. And you need a team name. So come up with a sweet team name.
Nice.
And then message us up, and then hopefully you can be involved in the episode. This will be the most guests we have in a single episode. We're kind of experimenting it. We're only going to choose a small amount of teams. But if you make the cut, it'll be an awesome episode. So
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool.
It sounds really cool. I love the idea. I've been tossing around with Mark the idea of trying to run like a pub trivia night in our city. You know, when things pop back up, which should be really soon, which is awesome.
Yep.
But I'm getting it's kind of gets my juices flowing. I'm tempted to say that the winner actually is going to claim the title of Lore Master. I will step down as my role of Lore Master, and they will ascend in my place.
That's awesome.
There can only be 4, right?
I can't wait to meet my new business partner. I cannot wait.
And best friend. Slowly take over every other aspect of your life.
Yeah.
You have to go back and live in that person's life and take over their life and like go pat their dog and look after their kids. You guys just trade places.
It's like wife swap, but it's life swap.
Perfect. I like that.
Wow. You know what? Maybe we should talk about Warhammer today.
We're in it. We're here. We're ready. We love it.
That's right.
Do you know what we're talking about today?
Daka.
No.
No, you get that orky bullshit out of here. Today is actually, we're going to focus on a Space Marine chapter. This is going to be our second chapter-focused episode, but, we have talked about other things like Grey Knights and Death Watch before, but, I'm kind of excited.
So excited to talk about Ultramarines today.
Ultramarines.
Oh,
No.
you cut that out.
No, not just Ultramarines. We're doing all 9 legions right now.
All 9 Traitor Legions. No, today is an episode all about the Minotaurs chapter.
Yeah, the Minotaurs.
You mean the mythological creature, the Minotaur? I know, it's like a bull person, right?
Yeah,
That's exactly
They put them
what
in
it is.
power armor and they send them on their way.
Seems pretty effective.
It
not
is
gonna lie.
very effective. So, as always, let's start with the history of the Minotaurs. The history and past of the Minotaurs chapter is shrouded in mystery, and some parts are lost to the sands of time. Their origins and many of their records are either missing, sealed away so tightly that even some members of the Inquisition have found they cannot access them. Compounding this suspicious situation, the records that have been accessed are full of conflicting or contradicting information. Yeah, so while we're going through the Minotaurs and their history, we're going to be giving you dates that don't line up, and it's going to be great, but unlike the Tau, it's intentionally like this. So I'm excited to get into it because, like we said, they're quite a mysterious chapter, and as we get deeper into why they're mysterious, it's very cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool little tidbits and things you can pick and pull apart. Theories that you can
this is like one of the
pull out of your ass that make no sense.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the
theories.
perfect chapters for that.
Yeah.
Because there's enough information, it's secret, it's good.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
We can find sneaky ways to connect dots if we've got big brain. All right.
So, the following is a compilation of all the known records of the Minotaurs. Not all of them, let's not get eccentric here, but we'll start in M32 in the Solar Rebellion. Their earliest records reports on the Minotaurs chapter participating in a counter-offensive in the western segmentum solar during M32. A chaos uprising led by Iron Warriors, Night Lords, World Eaters, Trade Legions, and supplemented by chaos cults plunged 100 systems into anarchy and violence. Whew, that's a lot.
It's a pretty big part. The fact that it's in the segmentum solar is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Because not much happens in there. The Imperium has a pretty tight grip on it. Even so much so that it's the segmentum that has allegedly 0 Xenos presence.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
They've purged every single Xenos presence from
right.
the segmentum solar, which is crazy to say that you've done that in any amount of space.
Too bad they couldn't save 100 systems from Traitor Legion.
Chaos is hard, okay?
There's not a trace of orcs, but it's fucking chaos. It's always that way.
Together with the Carcharodons, Angels Absolution, and Death Eagles, the Astartes forces were able to halt and destroy the uprising by focusing their attention on the Chaos Lords leading the rebellion. Once their leadership was destroyed, the remaining forces of Chaos crumbled, and the Solar Rebellion ended. There was apparent lack of information about the Solar Rebellion, and we can only be certain that it happened sometime after the Second Founding, which is like when they founded a bunch of Space Marines after the Horus Heresy, essentially. Well,
So the purpose of this was kind of to try and find out when these Minotaurs were actually founded, but they don't give us a date.
They don't, yeah.
So we just know it's sometime before the Solar Rebellion, but it's probably like after the Second Founding. So there's like a pretty big gap in there.
Sure. So the Carcharodons, the earliest record of them is 888 M32. Other than for the Solar War, the Angels Absolution were created during the Second Founding, during 021, M31. And the Death Eagles, where the earliest record is the Solar Rebellion.
So it's kind of even hard to try and use their numbers to try and figure out the Minotaur numbers.
Yeah, right.
So, because none of them really have some like strong information other than the Angels of Absolution, where they tell you that they were the second founding.
My toes are in like the wading pool right now of mystery. I can't wait to take a couple more steps in.
It gets deeper and deeper.
Yeah. There are 7 total known foundings that place from the second founding in M21, M31, until the unnamed founding in M33. The Minotaurs could have been formed out of any of these 7, though the third or fourth seem likely as they are named and saw the most chapters officially formed. So just statistically, it's most likely that they're third or fourth.
Yeah.
Okay. After the record mentioned of the Minotaur chapter then officially disappeared from records for like over 4,000 years, just gone.
Yeah.
So they appeared. We have a brief glimpse of this one solar war, and there wasn't even that much information.
There's almost nothing.
Yeah.
They just kind of mention like, hey, they took out Chaos Leadership. They worked with these chapters.
Yeah.
And then they disappeared as quickly as they appeared.
Why don't you guys
They
do more
disappeared.
research to find out what happened?
Yeah, I think this is a failure on the researcher's part.
You guys are lore masters. You should have all the answers. What happened, guys? Fill the gap.
The mystery. Don't worry, Eric. Soon you won't be a lore master.
If you want to see me cry, subscribe to our Patreon.
I'll give you a cuddle, buddy. I love you.
Yeah. So now they're gone for 4,000 years.
As you do.
As you do.
Yeah.
Just a quick nap.
So now the next time they're mentioned is we're going to talk about this area of time from M36 to M38. So in the year 991 M35, the Minotaurs were created as part of the cursed 21st founding. We are going to circle back to the entire cursed founding, like especially when it comes to talking about their gene seed and you know what their effects are from their cursed founding. So we're not going to do that right now. We're going to do it later.
Cool.
So during this 2,000-year period, the Minotaurs earned themselves a reputation as berserkers and having a quoted barely controlled battle fury. While they were quick to answer any call for their aid, they would normally ignore command trees and battle plans, and instead the chapter would just simply engage the enemy en masse until they were destroyed.
Crazy. So just typical berserkers run in and just wreck.
Yeah, exactly.
Get them, boys.
Most Imperial bodies during this time period began to hesitate before calling upon the Minotaurs for aid, with some outright shunning or refusing to accept their help. The chapter was primarily unbothered by this and continued to face the enemies of the Imperium at their own discretion. So everyone's like, hey, you don't play nice. And the Minotaurs is like, that's fine. I play better alone.
I take my toys elsewhere.
That's right.
It's kind of cool. Like one of the characters we talk a little bit more about like the relation of him. He basically goes and kills a bunch of guardsmen. I don't want to spoil it, but you always hear chapters like the Flesh Eaters or the Flesh Terrors, like all these like crazy berserker chapters. Let's start adding Minotaurs to this list of
at least the M36
the
to M38 Minotaurs.
Yeah. To the list of bad Astartes.
That's right.
that you don't want.
There are good Astartes?
It's so multi-layered. Oh my god.
The only recorded campaign that they participated in from M36 to M38 was the War for the Andromics system.
Okay.
And this took place during the 8th Black Crusade in 999 M37, so right at the end of this period. And this war was between the forces of Night Lords and Iron Warriors and the Adeptus Custodes, Adeptus Mechanicus forces, and the Minotaur Chapter.
Crazy. Yeah, so then they got involved in the 8th Black Crusade.
Yeah.
They must be doing other things for 2,000 years.
They definitely were.
Yeah.
We just don't have any specific names
Yeah.
for campaigns that they participated
exactly.
in.
Yeah.
Because they earned this berserker like personality during this, and they were active enough that enough people are like, no, I don't want their help.
And if they're off fighting their own wars too, like who's documenting it, right? Like they don't.
Yeah, they don't care.
There's also something special about them, which we'll go into more later, but one of the reasons they might not have a presence all over the galaxy is because they really like to work as a single unit. So they can't really be in 10 campaigns at once because they're not spreading their infantry all throughout the galaxy.
They're like a 1,000-man squad for sure.
Squad.
Squad.
So after this specific campaign, the War for the Andromics system, they disappear from Imperial records for another 3,000 years.
Gone.
That's a hard
And
map.
as quickly as they appear,
Are they holidaying?
they disappear.
Like, if they're not fighting other people, if they're fighting other people, there'd be evidence of that. So I guess they're just chilling on a beach. I mean, like,
It's the only logical explanation.
they have to relax at some
This is how you
point.
do archaeology too. It looks like this whole civilization just went on vacation.
It takes thousands of years of vacation to get the anger to go back into battle with the ferocity that they do. So,
Cool. So then we jump ahead 3,000 years.
Yes, Dylan's going to cover this one for us.
oh my gosh, M41, pre-Great Rift. The Minotaurs next appeared during the Macarian heresy. This took place after the Lord Solar Macarius died in 441, and his generals engaged in a civil war over control of the newly conquered territories.
It's kind of neat. I just did like a post. I was doing War Masters on like our social feeds.
Yeah.
And I did a post on Lord Solar Macarius. Pretty cool guy.
Pretty neat guy.
Pretty cool campaign.
Yeah, so what is it? It was 7 years, 1,000 worlds
That's right.
or something.
He wanted to have the most successful and the greatest crusade since the Great Crusade.
Right.
And he succeeded with 1,000 worlds brought into the Imperium in 7 years. And he would have gone further except for his stupid crew who are cowards and they refuse to leave the light of the Astronomicon behind.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy.
Are we getting into that or not?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Save it for the Macarius.
Fuck this story. Let's go to that one. That's way
At some
cooler.
point, we'll do the Macarian Crusade,
All right.
the Macarian Heresy,
Yeah.
Lord Solar Macarius
Because
himself.
the Macarian heresy, believe it or not, is actually worse than the Crusade was.
Yeah.
What did you say? It was like
Okay.
200 years of.
It took 70 years to bring his like Civil War generals back into compliance. So he wins 1,000 worlds
In 7
in
years.
7 years, and then he dies, and then they instantly break off, and then it takes 70 years of infighting to fix what he did.
God.
Like, pretty great.
Like he front-ended all that work. That's amazing. All right, the Minotaurs, at the High Order of High Lords of Terror, unexpectedly arrived during the Euxine, yeah, sure, incident, which saw the Doom Warriors chapter and the Interceptors chapter engaged in a drawn-out conflict over a matter of honor. Without warning, the Minotaurs attacked both chapters in full force, routing the Doom Warriors from the system and systematically destroying the Inceptors. When they were fewer than 100 Inceptors alive, they surrendered, and the Minotaurs confiscated many of the chapter's relics, as well as taking their flagship for their own.
Holy fuck. So
Wow.
this is where we're getting into what the Minotaurs do.
Yeah,
They
kind
fucked
of
it
their
up.
specialty.
They,
It's a lot of damage, yeah.
yeah, they go in and they just fuck up 2 chapters, and then they steal all their shit.
Fewer than 100 Inceptors alive. Jesus Christ. Yeah, crazy. Okay, and then they stole their shit because they're thugs. The brutal behavior against the Inceptors and Ultramarines' successor caused the Ultramarines chapter to denounce the Minotaurs for their atrocities and ban them from entering Ultramar. Several Ultramarine successor chapters have even sworn vengeance against the Minotaurs should the opportunity ever arise.
I love the idea that there's just like a ban, a travel ban, effectively, on this Minotaur chapter. They're flying through space, and all of a sudden they get a message like, "You're about to enter Ultramar space. Turn around."
Yeah, don't piss off the poster boys. It's not very fun. All right, the Minotaurs were also involved in the Badab War on the side of the Loyalist Imperial forces in 907 M41. They committed their entire chapter to the campaign and were praised for their victory over the Lamenters chapter, who they forced to surrender. This conflict left the Minotaurs force badly depleted, and they spent the remainder of the war away from the front lines. Interdiction duties in the in the space lanes and carrying out punitive actions against previously rebel worlds. Wait, what? I'm lost.
I imagine these punitive actions as in like, you know, it's been 3 months since this planet rebelled, so let's just give them a quick bombing.
Just so they know their place.
Yeah. And then 3 months later, they're like, all right, so it's time for their 3-month bombing again. Time to throw some more bombs on this planet as a punishment, of course.
Oh my god. Also, they liberated, quote marks, a portion of the Lamentis fleet.
They're just little scavenger scoundrels.
God, they're little rascals.
During the Badab War, there was, I forget how many Space Marine chapters. There's a lot.
There's a lot, yeah.
And the Minotaurs were like the preeminent close combat Astartes during the Badab War until the Carcharodons came.
Yes.
But like
Until they also were so badly like
mauled, like they wiped out an entire chapter. You know, they were up there in all the chapters. They're like up there for Astartes killing and like just.
Yeah, they're one of the
Dangerous.
more
Yes.
well-known forces in the Badab War.
Yeah.
The Badass War.
The Badass War.
The bad. It feels like badass, yeah.
Eat a badass.
That's cool. I like some boys with some choppers. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you got to respect it, right?
And yeah, they do crazy stuff too.
Like, the Berserker theme is a very cool theme. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a crazy fucking, like, blood-filled warrior. Okay, they participated in the reclamation of Rin's world, which had been overrun by the Orc Snagrod, with a combined force from 7 Space Marine chapters. The Minotaurs also assisted the Red Templars and the Grey Knights rout the excommunicated Night Reapers chapter. Immediately following this joint effort, the Minotaurs were sent to the Ophirian War, where the Ophirian sector was soon disbanded, and the Minotaurs were charged with purging the entire sector of any Necron present.
Oh jeez.
It's one of the few cases where the Minotaurs actually failed what they were supposed to do. So, I mean,
Right.
it was very much a losing battle by the time they arrived. But yeah, they were sent to the Orphean War to help, and then the High Lords are like, shit, man, this is way too crazy.
Yeah, right.
We're just like, this is gone, it's bad. So they withdrew a bunch of their forces, and they're like, hey, Minotaurs, you guys cleaned it up.
Thanks.
We know there's a bunch of Necron waking up trying to take over, but you guys got this, right?
They're just like, dibs nut, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that other thing.
That's
So-
not what they're made for. They're not made for killing.
I
Z,
know,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, and that's why they didn't do that great.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's their history kind of in that last portion up to the Great Rift. And the Great Rift kind of changes things.
Right.
So M42, post-Great Rift. Sometime in M42, a Death Guard company assaulted the Minotaurs' fortress monastery, the Daedalus Krata. Although the Minotaurs were successful in defending their flagship, the Death Guard somehow managed to corrupt the gene stock of the chapter. Aware that their gene seed was now too corrupted to implant, the Minotaurs were faced with a slow, drawn-out extinction. Their solution was to race to Terra as fast as they could to procure pure and uncorrupted gene seed from the vaults. Once the Minotaurs reached Terra, they were among the first Space Marine chapters to be infused with the Marines from the Primaris project, ensuring their continued existence. The Minotaurs were also the first chapter to be deployed as part of the Indomitus Crusade against the Chaos Cultists that had risen from within Terra.
Yeah, it's kind of neat this whole idea that they recognize their gene seed is too corrupted. I feel like too often you hear about chapters like willing to put in this gene seed that might not be great. Like they accept that, okay, there are these deficiencies, but we'll work around it.
Or okay, if we're gonna die, let's go to the Eye of Terra and die.
Right, yeah. We know that we can't come back from this, so let's
Yeah.
do our last duty.
Exactly. Yeah.
But instead they kind of were like, no. We know there's some good shit over there. And just like all that other shit we take,
We're going to take it back.
we're gonna take this.
But that's Daddy's house. We can't go there.
And not only when they get there, isn't it not just the good stuff? They find the best stuff. Because now they're Primaris Marines.
Yeah, exactly. It's cool to know that they're one of the first chapters to get infused with these Primaris Marines. Now, it's not entirely clear on whether that means they are passing the Rubicon or they are getting actual Grey Shields into their company.
Yeah.
But we assumed it was Grey Shields because
They made a huge deal about
Ultramarines
Calgar
and White
being
Scars.
the first
Yeah,
to
they were the
cross
first.
the Rubicon.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
why we assume that it's more Primaris Marines and
Yeah.
not like upgrading their old Marines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just like everything with the Minotaurs, we can't really know for sure.
It's all hidden behind secrecy and lies.
But all of this may have been a lie. The very next line.
Forget everything you just read.
An elaborate ruse to explain the Minotaurs' hasty travel to Terra.
What?
It was later revealed that the Minotaurs were ordered to Terra by the former High Lord Iruthu Hemotalion, part of a seditious group called the Hexarchy.
Ooh,
It was the Hexarchy's goal to overthrow Lord Commander Guilliman's rule and place the High Lords back on top of the Imperium's chain of command. When the coup was eventually suppressed and all the leaders assassinated, the Minotaurs had clashed with the Adeptus Custodes and the Imperial Fists, though they eventually received and obeyed new orders from another High Lord of Terra, Violetta Roscavler. Yeah, so that's some heretical stuff right there.
Yeah, they assaulted custodes and fists.
No.
on
They were
Terra.
defending themselves.
On
Let the
foreign
judge
territory.
decide.
How did they get away with that? Like, don't they just get
So
fucked up?
now this is now the second time we've heard
Right.
them being ordered by the High Lords of Terra to do something. So this is
Specifically when it comes to engaging with other Imperial forces.
Yeah.
so now this is the other big thing that we don't know much about. Like there's lots of references to them getting like messages from the High Lords of Terra being their lapdogs, all
Having
this kind
secret
of,
orders,
Right.
the speed that they answer these like summons, because a lot of Space Marine chapters they
they're
like
like-
their autonomy,
Yeah.
and they're like,
We'll take your requests into consideration.
exactly,
Yeah,
We'll get around
we'll
to it.
consider
Yeah.
what you want us to do. Where it feels like the Minotaurs are like the High Lords point and the Minotaurs
Go.
Yeah.
Or and if it's maybe not like all the time, it's like if they do point, then we go. So it's
Right,
not like
yeah.
they're always every campaign is.
They can be corrupted or persuaded, which speaks to like potentially corruption and persuasion on like Terra. You know what I mean? Like who's really
They
calling
are-
the
they
shots?
were-
we'll get
No,
more
Terra
into
can never
their-
be corrupt.
Yeah, we'll get more into their beliefs. We'll
Yeah.
carry on, and it'll kind of open up why
Right.
all. But keep in mind,
like,
every time.
I'm still learning about this chapter. Like this chapter's pretty new to me, to be fair. But like I don't understand how they would get away with that. Like that would make them a traitor, right?
I agree with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I think that there are weird interactions with them and other Space Marines. I specifically point to the Inceptors and the Doom Warriors. They go and these Inceptors and Doom Warriors are not traitors. They're not heretics at all. They're just embroiled in a stupid honor fight with each other.
Sure.
Which it was taking like an exceedingly long time, and the High Lords didn't like it, so they're like, "Hey, Minotaurs, go fix this." And the Minotaurs are like, "Great, let me destroy a fucking loyalist chapter."
Yeah.
In my like goal to do this, and that seems crazy. Like they were allowed to just destroy an entire chapter, and there's not really any consequences.
That's surprising.
Other than the Ultramarines are like, "Hey,
Yeah, honestly, like oh my
So-
god, everyone's kind of shitty. That's about it.
they're to be declared excommunicate traitoratus, which is like rebelling. There's only two people who can actually declare a chapter that: the High Lords of Terra or an Inquisitor. So if you're working for the High Lords of Terra,
Right.
they're
almost
not gonna,
anything you do can
yeah,
be
they
accessible."
like because they're the only people, and an Inquisitor. But High Lords of Terra outrule the Inquisitor, so that's why they're allowed to be able to do all this kind of stuff, because really there's not that many people that have authority over
Yeah.
Space Marines.
Yeah.
And the only people that
Seems
do.
shady.
But
I
it
don't know.
totally
Oh, it's
makes
shady.
sense.
Yo, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah, it's cool. It's super cool.
Yeah, how
Have you
you're
ever heard of
understanding
political
that.
corruption?
Yeah.
Definitely how it's supposed to be.
Okay.
It's supposed to make you be like, "What? That
What?
doesn't make sense."
Okay, cool. I'm engaged now. I'm engaged. All right.
Yeah.
So
Well, there's one more line.
We should also mention the whole Hexarchy, a group of High Lords trying to overthrow a Primarch, is also a pretty big deal.
yeah, that's crazy too. But
Former High Lords.
They're all dead now.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty funny story how it happens.
Is it?
Yeah, death, murder, and stuff. You guys don't think that's funny?
there's viscera.
There was a leader of the Assassinorum who was a member of the Hexarchy, and actually he wasn't a real member. He was kind of just like a double agent in the Hexarchy, and all he was doing was trying to find out who the leaders in the Hexarchy were, and then positioning all his agents around them. And then as soon as he was ready, he just flicked his kill switch, and all of them died.
And it was,
That's nice. That is funny, Eric.
It was pretty good.
Have a convenient kill switch.
Yeah.
What a life.
anyways, the Minotaurs' current location is unknown, possibly the Orphean War, but they are still known to be an active chapter.
Still going about,
So-
still doing stuff.
After this whole shady confrontation, they just kind of like quietly,
Yeah, doesn't make much sense.
Instead of going to jail to pay for their crimes.
Do you think there's like a space station somewhere that is built specifically to house Astartes?
A Space Marine prison?
Yeah.
I have a custom chapter idea on that. I'll tell you.
Like prison?
another
Like,
episode.
There are like the Dark Angels in The Rock.
yeah, could you imagine a TV, like imagine like Oz or some shit like that, but it was Space Marines in
I think-
jail.
yeah.
Like, I would watch the shit out of
Marines
that.
Marines
Imagine
typically
me.
take care of their own,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if you're an Ultramarine and you dishonor yourself, one of two things is going to happen. You're either so dishonored you've betrayed the chapter and you die as a traitor, or you go on your own penitent crusade and stuff. But that's like
When the Death Watch
Yeah,
made
I
it.
guess-
internal.
I guess
Yeah.
there's like a bunch of
Yeah.
options.
No,
for
there's
it,
no like
but-
outside party that keeps other Marines in check.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
there
Unless-
should be.
It makes more sense
Me.
that instead
I'll
of they wouldn't imprison someone, they'd go send them on a suicide journey or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And like
Fair enough.
there's also like personal honor. Like the Marine wouldn't want to live with that stain on their honor, so they would take it upon themselves to redeem their honor.
Right, yeah.
You know, so it's a little bit different. Space Marine prisons.
Way to cover that. Jeez, you saved the fuck out of that.
I don't even think.
You kind of have to know what you're talking about when you start a podcast about a topic.
Wow.
Womp womp.
A little late somebody told me that.
Anyways, we're gonna do our podcast on nuclear physics next.
I'm in. You son of a bitch. I'm in.
All right, let's talk about their gene seed. So, they were founded a couple different times. The most likely one, whatever. We'll talk about the 21st cursed founding. And it was the second largest founding of Astartes. It took place slightly after the Age of Apostasy in 999 M35. The focus of the founding was perfecting and removing deficiencies in flawed gene seed, but things did not go according to plan. The founding was cursed, and the majority of the chapters created during this suffered from appalling bad luck, or even worse, some chapters developed genetic mutations.
Yeah, you got
Dun,
the
dun, dun.
Flame Falcons in there.
Yeah, who literally combusted the
Yeah, and
black.
they were declared heretics just because they spontaneously lit on fire.
This one wasn't our fault. This is who I am. It's like-
Yeah, you got like black dragons with like their bone spurs.
Yeah, growing, having these growths come out of their body.
Yeah.
There's that one where their bones are as strong as metal.
Sons of Antaeus.
Did the Minotaurs get horns?
Wouldn't you like to know?
I mean, thus they're called the Minotaurs. Why else would they be called the Minotaurs?
No idea.
Why are Ultramarines called
because-
Ultramarine? Is it because their armor is
Minotaurs are
Ultramarine?
like an unstoppable force. Like they're like a bull. You don't stop a bull.
Oh, okay, so it's about the
Like,
character
well,
of
they've
Minotaurs.
It's
never
about
met
the
a Spaniard.
character of the-
Visual aesthetic.
I've never met a Spaniard stoppable. I just see him get trampled. The player dance around it.
It's a really shitty game to play,
Yeah.
to be fair. It's like, you think to beat a bull? Nah, dude.
Yeah. Don't you know you got to beat off the bull if you want it to calm down? Like,
Why don't you practice
Simple.
on trains first? And then, it's about the same.
So for the Minotaurs, this genetic alteration may have come in the form of chimeric gene seed. And while this might have helped them avoid the mutations in other chapters, they quickly achieved a reputation for being uncontrollable berserkers. It's possible this fury and rage was a side effect of the gene seed. Some may claiming that the Minotaurs were infected with cursed blood. Others claim it might be, World Eater's gene seed. You hear all types of crazy stuff out there from where their gene seed is and how this rage happens. But
Yeah.
No one.
we know they're
points-
unreasonably angry.
No one. points-
Unreasonable.
Yeah.
Wrong side of the bed, every day. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Get off the other side of the bed. Just roll over the other way. It's not too hard. You don't have to be this shitty all the time.
Just make simple decisions, you stupid.
Responsibility to the friends around you, okay?
So I mentioned they have chimeric gene seed. So what does having chimeric gene seed mean for the Minotaurs? Well, we actually don't know. We don't know if who their gene seed comes from, what organs are lacking, which ones are working. We have nothing outside the fact that they use chimeric gene seed and whatever the fuck that means.
Yeah.
It can really mean a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And you guys will be excited for the Tales of the Warp, but we're going to dive deep into all the possibilities. Are they world eaters?
Get out of here.
Yes.
No, they're very obviously blood angels.
Yeah, God.
If you think they're anything
Hey,
other
save it for the
than
Tales of the Warp.
Ember's children.
You're a fool.
But yeah, that's kind of their gene seed. As far as we know, we know they have Primaris gene seed, which means they have all the working organs. They're they're good
Right.
to go for another 10,000 years type thing.
There's some really cool implications of the fact that they were given these Primaris gray shields.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a lot about the differences between like the M36 and the M32 and the M41 Marines because there are personality differences.
Yeah, and they might not even all be the same
Exactly,
chapter.
yeah. So we are going to go much deeper into it, but Gene Seed for us kind of ended at chimeric. Cool.
Okay, which chapters?
Yeah.
Oh, we don't know? Chimeric. Cool.
And could it just be more than 2? It could be like 10.
Yeah.
One of every chapter. What if
knows?
they're one of every chapter?
Multiple, yeah.
So let's move on. The next section is their chapter beliefs. So the Minotaurs' motives are often hidden, and they seem to bear little respect for anyone or anything, save the Emperor and the High Lords of Terra. They tend to show no love or civility or deference when dealing with Imperial commanders and even other Astartes chapters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Some Imperial commanders who have served with the Minotaur have gone on record hinting that the chapter is on the very edge of heresy. They've gone on to describe the defenses and security precautions taken by the chapter, even when dealing with supposed allies, as paranoia. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that must stem a lot from the fact that they've engaged so many of their own forces that they're like, hey, wait, if we do it to someone, what's stopping them from doing it to us?
Yeah.
I think their paranoia might be a little justified.
Somebody could just come in here and kill us.
Do you remember that time we just destroyed the Inceptors chapter? Shit, what if they do that to us?
I think you're wrong, man. I don't know. You ever had like a super introverted friend that you hang out with? They don't say much, so you're not really sure whether they like you or not. So you kind of just project your own expectation. You assume that they don't like you, they're not really getting along.
Yeah.
These guys are just insecure introverts. That's all it is. They're not bloodthirsty maniacs. You just gotta take the time to understand them. Then they'll open up. It just takes time.
Yeah, are you making coffee dates with some Minotaurs Astartes?
I can bring them on
with
for an
Mr.
episode.
Mullock.
We can break them open, find out like what makes them tick.
Dylan's a certified Astartes psychologist.
From the Adeptus Astartes Psychoanalysis
Department.
Unit, obviously. Yes.
You're in good hands.
But the truth is, given the number of enemies both within and without the Imperium, is it really that surprising?
Yeah.
And the answer is no. And yet, other Imperial commanders have gone on record as finding the Space Marines of the Minotaurs chapter to be brooding and malign warriors far from the epitome of honor and righteousness that we would expect to find.
Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think there's examples of them necessarily doing like they do honor duels and stuff, but like they're deadly, I think. We'll talk a little bit more, but
For sure.
they're not that honorable.
No. Yeah.
So I say, is there honor in death or is that dishonorable? I don't know. You could
To
go
a
either
ma-
way, right?
It's
Yeah.
like, you challenge another good warrior, you have a slap fight, and you're like, okay, no one gets hurt, I win.
Yeah.
But in their case, they're like, no, I'm breaking your neck.
Yeah, exactly.
Punching you in the balls.
I'm ending this with death.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if we have a thumb war and then I take a knife out and stab you
Right,
in the
exactly.
neck,
That's
like,
not-
is that honorable?
No.
I don't know. It
You
depends
won
what
the thumb war.
I did win the thumb
You
war.
did
with
stab somebody. though.
your thumbs. And I'm
Somebody
still
would.
winning. Because everybody's dead, buddy.
It's 3 forward, 2 back. Damn, it's hard to get ahead with these bitches questioning your every move.
Yeah.
So the Minotaurs believe in themselves as the ultimate weapons of the Emperor and enjoy proving their mettle against worthy foes. Unfortunately, this commonly means Astartes. This kind of testing appears again and again in their history. Anytime a loyalist chapter steps out of line, or turns traitor, or sneezes wrong, or forgets to leave their parking brake on.
Oh no.
The Minotaurs are amongst the first chapters to appear, bring the Emperor's wrath, steal their shit, leave a little peace sign calling card, and then do so.
They're just grumpy bullies. Like, this is kind of bullshit. Someone pat them on the head or give them a back rub or like fucking give them a little
Do you
love,
guys just need a hug?
Right?
A large amount of focus is given to individual strengths and skills, for you never know when the brother beside you is going to become your next enemy. Paranoia.
Oh my god, that's built into their shit. That's rough.
The chapter's individuals hold about them an aura of barely restrained spite and malice that breeds fear and apprehension in all but the strongest hearts. there is little pity or remorse amongst the chapter, as their primary concern is the task at hand, which is usually the utter and complete destruction of their foes.
And they do that very well.
Yeah.
These guys are miserable.
With the weight of 1,000 Marines crashing upon your beach.
Oh, these guys are so depressing. I mean, they're cool because they'll fuck shit up, but I don't know. I don't want to hang out with them.
No, you don't want to hang out with any Astartes.
I don't think so. You're
Well,
right.
mainly because you're not an Astartes. So you're
Jealousy, whatnot,
You're a
yeah.
little more than like a rat
Oh,
to them. So
Oh, well, you get demasculated enough, like, to hang out with us. You don't need to hang out with us in the basement. This is more or less the equivalent already, so
Yeah.
we'll leave it at this. We don't really want to break it.
ouch.
what? You mean I'm not as cool as a super genetically engineered 8-foot soldier with power armor and a bolt gun? Oh.
You're close. Mark has a lot of living to do.
Cool. Well, we're going to take a quick 15-second, I don't know, 1 minute, I don't know.
Yeah. How
do you do
You should
outro?
check out these guys
Yeah.
from Alien Theorist Theorizing. Listen to them, and we will be right back. Quick break.
Ever wonder if we're alone in the universe?
Do you find yourself staring into the night sky, theorizing about the existence of aliens?
Once you start asking the question, are we alone? Do you start to question, well, everything else?
Who?
What?
Where? Why? Aliens. Alien Theorist Theorizing is a comedy podcast.
Where your neighborhood armchair alien theorists theorize.
Why would we want to leave Earth?
Why
Ever.
wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't we?
We're talking about space exploration, UFOs, extraterrestrials, cryptozoology, supernatural, and conspiracy theories.
He's not an owl! It ends right there! He's never been an owl!
So join us, the alien theorists, as we wade through the BS and get inspired by the possibilities.
With open minds and open beers.
New episodes every Friday. Listen to Alien Theorist Theorizing free on Spotify.
And we're back.
Okay, I guess we're back. Christian has said we are back, we are back.
Live on the air.
If you guys like aliens and you like people theorizing about aliens,
Yeah.
you should go check them out. They're really cool guys.
Yeah, we've talked to them a couple times. They're cool.
Yeah, they are very neat.
They go and find the 40K. That is out there.
That's right.
Is that
yeah.
their role and
40K
responsibility?
is real if you're looking in the right places, and if if you wake up, you sheep, and you start looking into the places where you're not supposed to look. You're gonna
Hidden
find
places, yeah.
It's the truth is out there.
The
and you-
podcast is factual.
You are gonna find it, and one day you will recognize me as your king.
Here we go. Okay. Took a weird twist all of a sudden.
Master-
Master of the
Okay.
universe.
I'll follow you in a great crusade.
That's right.
All that can be yours if you listen to them. Whatever Eric was talking about there, who knows? Let's get back into it. Minotaurs combat doctrine.
Yes.
What do they
Dylan's
like?
gonna take this one.
Oh my gosh. All right, we got combat doctrine. Here we go. The beast, the bronze beast in the darkness. Footsteps. It never tired. It just kept coming. We didn't stand a chance. Wherever we turned, we could not escape. Never escape. And that was a quote from a mining colony survivor. I'm going to call him Ted.
Funnily enough, he escaped.
He did escape.
To give us this quote. Yeah,
That's right.
We wouldn't have this quote.
Hey guys,
unless
listen
Ted
to my
got
last
out.
words.
It's pretty good, actually. Yeah, Mark's reading this to me. He's like, "We'll never escape. We could not escape." And my brain is just like trying to process this, and I'm like, "Wait, so he escaped?"
Yeah, we didn't get this. We didn't extract this from the Minotaurs telling us about his
Yeah,
last
yeah.
words. You know what I mean?
Said it time and time again. GW writes shitty lore.
The Minotaur's like, "Yo, you hear that little bitch that thought he was going to escape?"
The whole chapter.
I wrote.
Of 1,000 readers.
I wrote down what they
After
wrote.
him.
Yo, I wrote that shit down. It was so funny. Here, let me share it.
Fuck.
All right. The Minotaurs have made a reputation for themselves after the 21st founding of a highly autonomous, almost berserker force. Some even said that the Minotaurs oftentimes turned away from any form of combat that did not allow them to rapidly deploy into the enemy line. So it's
Yeah,
go
like-
hard or go home.
Like holding a fortress, they're like, nah, bro. That's not for us.
they're gonna do it properly, right? They don't want to fuck around.
They
All
do
right.
a reverse Helm's Deep. No, you're not sieging us. We're sieging you.
Trade places. This is better. Oh, I'm dying. Okay, they would hurl themselves at the enemy without heed of loss or cost. Their fury spent, the Minotaurs would then withdraw as suddenly as they had arrived. However, this form of warfare was too unpredictable and unreliable a force to be counted on by any Imperial forces. Yeah, fair enough. It's just so rude and inconsiderate. It's like, if you don't do combat, can you do it at least like within the lines like we're used to? Like, can we use you somehow? They're just so sporadic.
Yeah. Well, my arm's starting to cramp up, boys. Want to go home like mid-battle?
Yeah, right?
All right, brother.
There's that
Super
massive
drop
like
ship.
work whistle, like they all just immediately go, "Oh, it's a long day." They just turn around.
Brush off like the dead people hanging
Yeah,
off them. Yeah. Oh, shake
All their forces are like weapon raised, guns still firing. Like what? No, we're leaving. We're out of here.
Confront them about it and they're just grumpy and secure and they're like, oh, I just won't be here anymore. It's like, all right, dude, fucking go back to bed. However, the Minotaurs that re-emerged into Imperial history in M41 were quite different in regards to how they prosecuted a campaign. The chapter now shows a preference in deploying a vanguard to pin its enemies in combat, then uses fast units to encircle the foes so that there is no escape. Finally, the chapter is able to bring in the full weight of the chapter's firepower and heavy armor to crush any further resistance. It's pretty good.
Yeah, they seem a lot more like even that little bit is like a more focused effort than ever described.
Yeah.
You know, like
Okay, so we're still gonna run in, but
Yeah.
this time you guys went on the left, you guys went on the right. Got him.
yeah. And even at that point, when you know the chapter master is sharing that in his war council, like 80% of them are instantly raising their hands and being like, "Yeah, but are we all running in? Are we all just doing it?
Yes,
or-
we are, but we're doing it slightly differently.
Okay, another question.
Yeah. Yes, brother. Alarak.
Yeah. So do I just run in? And do we all just run in together?
What's that new executioner unit? Somebody get that new Primaris executioner. Get that guy in here. Yes, brother Alaric. What?
Yeah. Are we all running in to kill him? As like
He running with us?
yeah. Who's charging who in this scenario?
Have we considered sprinting? I think sprinting could be more
I would like to
effective.
address Brother Delanis's comments when it comes to sprinting.
When does it begin?
That's right. Yes. Are we sprinting from space downwards and then changing once we reach the planet to sprinting forwards?
Horizontal to vertical sprint.
That's right. Yes.
No, just sprinting right now, just in case.
I would like to maximize sprinting.
You do.
Yes.
You do gotta do that.
Well, it's surprising because this is the first bit of strategy we've heard from these guys.
Yeah.
But for this, it's meant to be a rabble, but these guys are like, hey, we got some tactics.
It's really cool that they break up their time frames and they will tell you
Yeah.
that they act different. You okay, Marcus?
It's funny.
Marcus died.
I got a little tear in my eye. It's fine.
Yeah, it's neat how they break up the different time frames of Minotaurs and they describe them pretty differently.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is really neat, and we'll get into it later. I got some thoughts.
Well,
They're not good ones, but I got some thoughts.
If they're using tactics, do you think they like each other a little bit better?
Nani?
Maybe they're becoming friends. If they're listening to each other and following instructions, you're gonna have some level of compliance. Here, let's find out. The chapter now also seems more content to operate within command structures of the Imperial war machine, giving up some autonomy. Little bitches, I thought you were cool. I thought you were hardcore, but no, you're all compliant.
Oh, you used to be punk, but now you're stupid.
That's right. Maybe they'll get a smile on their face. Fucking finally. The Minotaurs' way of war is fast, efficient, and brutal, while no longer the berserkers of the past. Oh, interesting. They are still merciless and relentless. Okay, so they've changed. They've evolved.
Yes.
Preferring to operate in full chapter strength when possible, a key tactic used to engage in attrition warfare in a confined area, willing to suffer any loss as long as they achieve victory, even combating monstrous enemies with their sheer numbers if need be. So they get the job done.
Yeah, they're a horde army. Minotaurs.
That's why I like these guys. They're just orcs in power armor. It's fucking sick, you know?
That's not a bad comparison, I think.
Because they kind of barely pay instructions, but just enough to like get the job done.
Right, yeah.
You know, they're just the only difference is like orcs will laugh maniacally. These guys are grumpy emos. So the Minotaurs are a brutal chapter. Once their sights are set, there is almost no escape.
Yeah.
Keyword is almost, because if you happen to be a miner,
Get 10 from that mining colony.
The guy's in the tunnel. He just turns off his mining hat.
I've heard that if you don't move, they can't see you. There's just a Minotaur stomping right next.
it's like a T-Rex.
That's nice.
All right. Let's get into their organization, if there is any. The Minotaurs are codex compliant, both to the structural and squad level patterns, appearing to have no particularly distinctive organizational facets on the surface, and are only really a few notably unusual factors. They seem to prefer to operate in chapter strength whenever possible and do not appear to engage in small-scale campaigns.
I actually really like that.
Yeah.
It's a very, it's really normal. I think a lot of people mistake chapters and assume that people do this all the time.
Sure.
And I think that that's not the reality at all. Like, you're going to see 5-10 Marines at once.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're talking, of course, of like, hey, the chapter master is.
But even on those
sortieing.
big campaigns, you have like, okay, well, maybe they're up to a company strength, right?
Yes.
They're not typically fighting whole chapter in a whole conflict.
Yeah, because that's just a huge display of force.
Yeah.
Bring an entire chapter, like that's insane.
That's a lot.
So I think it's really neat when you have these individual ones that are like, yeah, we fight all of us and we just crush anything that resists us.
And we're going to lose 800 guys potentially, but you will be dead. And
Yeah.
they'll just...
And we'll walk away.
and
It's
we'll
very
walk
all or
away.
nothing. I wonder what is the reasoning behind that. You know, like why would they not spray up into smaller things? Like, obviously it's stronger if they go together, but that can't be always necessary.
I think it has to do a lot with, well, who knows, but
Right,
they're
yeah.
always fighting Astartes chapters, and you need to be full.
Okay.
You got to be on your best.
Yeah, you can't be halfsies when you're fighting other
So when they
Astartes.
want to fight, they just want to do it right. So they need everyone in the chapter to come along. Yeah, I guess. I don't know, maybe there's a deeper reason. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
The other thing is that, or did you have something else?
Who knows? It might go back to like their cursed founding gene seed, and that that.
They can't
Maybe they
not
need each
fight
other for a
together.
reason. Maybe
Maybe they're a Gestalt hive consciousness.
Hey.
Some shit. I don't
We
know.
can get weird with this.
Yeah,
I'll
you
get
could. Who
weird.
knows?
What's the chimera gene seed? Be fucking anything, right?
Yeah, it could be Tyrannid gene seed. I'm gonna add that to the Discord.
Where's my Inquisitor button? Someone get this man out of here.
Redacted.
The Minotaurs are supremely well equipped and supplied, and are able to replace losses of both material and personnel with little difficulty. That's
a very interesting thing.
yeah, and that gives them a crazy edge when fighting other Astartes. Like if chapters, a Space Marine is a huge resource investment, right? It takes years to grow them. You have to find the right recruits. You lose so many people just getting them from non-Marine to Marine status. So years of time, the body's involved with that. And to be able to replace losses very quickly is like a huge advantage.
Yeah, because it still takes time. Like they still have to wait 10 years for a Space Marine type thing. So
Yeah, and then on top of that too, their equipment. Like the Imperium is not well known for its supply lines, right? Like Space Marine,
Not
like
for its good supply.
yeah. So like chapters are often like made to make do with what they have, and that's why they preserve armor and like for generations and thousands of years. And like
they're also very autonomous. They're in charge of their own
armories. and-
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. Or they have specific deals with Forge Worlds in their vicinity. They're not being provided materials from the High Lords of Terra.
Yeah.
They're doing it themselves.
Yeah, which means obviously that comes with its own problems. But these
Yes.
guys seem to always have what they need when they need it. No problems with supply.
An excess of what they need.
Oh.
and like the best stuff.
Your chapter has one revered plasma gun. Our whole chapter has plasma guns.
Yeah, exactly. If we want, maybe we have other things.
Maybe soon we'll have your review. Plasma
That's a nice ship. It'd be a shame if someone
Took it.
appropriated it for the Emperor.
liberated it.
Liberated for the Emperor.
All the toys and guns in the world when all they really want is just to be loved.
That's the classic rich kids, right? They bully other people. They have all the nice stuff, but really they don't have
But
true
the one
friends.
thing they don't have.
That's why they're so shit. That's why they're berserkers. They're so mad.
There, we found it. We found.
Landed that plane.
Very nice. I love it.
A unique formation within the Minotaurs is the hecaton, a cadre of contemptor pattern dreadnoughts. The hecaton is an ancient Terran word meaning enslaved monster, and are permanently based on the flagship Daedalus Crata to act as its guardians. The hecaton aren't permanently assigned to the ship and will often join their brothers in the field of battle.
That's just like their staging. They stay there. When they're not in battle, they stay on the ship to
Yeah,
protect it.
The Contemptor pattern dreadnoughts, are they just bigger dreadnoughts?
Yeah, I'll pull up a picture.
So those are Heresy era dreadnoughts.
Oh, okay. Heresy.
The Contemptor is pretty sweet. It looks a lot more humanoid shaped.
Oh, it's quite different, is it?
Oh yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And...
Yeah.
Oh, right.
The
Yeah,
intro-
okay.
Yeah.
It is much more humanoid. It's less that kind of bulky, bloaty, thick boy.
Yeah,
fucking
it's less of a
regular dreadnought.
box on legs.
Yeah, it's almost like a halfway between a dreadnought and like a battle suit. Or something
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
Obviously not as mobile, but it looks very cool. Yeah,
Can I be a nerd here for like 2 seconds?
No,
Yeah.
you're at the wrong place.
Either
Either talk about beer or tits. Beer or tits. Those two are the two subjects you get.
So they use the term hecaton, that means quote unquote enslaved monster. But hecaton is actually a Greek word that means 100. So I don't know if it's supposed to be how 40k is pseudo Latin. There's like pseudo Greek, or
What, do you think there's 100 hecaton? Is that what you're saying?
no, I don't know. The hecaton was a monster in Greek mythology too,
Oh, okay.
and was the father of the Hecantares, who had like 100 hands, which is where it's 100. It's all about 100. Are there 100 dreadnoughts? Is what I'm asking.
There,
I'd assume so.
there might be.
The
Yeah, who
unit
knows?
formation within the Minotaurs is the hecatons. Let's assume it's probably like groups of 100. Yeah.
We have like 5 main like named character
Hecatons.
hecaton dreadnoughts. Like that's quite a bit for dreadnoughts.
Right. Yeah.
So who knows how many there are?
And there is also something else special that the chapter does with these dreadnoughts. Not they do, but how they treat them. And we'll get into it later because it ties into my weird brain thing.
Okay.
But yeah, the Hecaton are cool. The fact that they're all Contemptor dreadnoughts is very interesting.
Yeah, it's just another thing. Like they weren't around during the Great Crusade and stuff. How do they have all this sweet old
Tech.
high-tech war
So
gear?
much of it too. And we haven't even begun to talk about how crazy their flagship is.
Yeah, among some holy moly.
It's only going to get weirder as we go on. So
The chapter is ruled by chapter master Asterion Moloch, satrap of the Daedalus Crata, bringer of wrath, the brazen warlord, spear of judgment. Bloody-handed and paranoid, he is a dark legend whose name is a byword for destruction and slaughter in the Emperor's name.
Yeah, and he's the guy who runs it.
he's a pretty cool guy, actually.
Yeah.
When you get to know him.
Yeah. Once you can get past, the paranoia and the murder and
Yeah.
the screaming and whatnot.
Yeah, and you get to focus in on his pottery obsession.
That's right. Yeah.
Then he's a nice guy then.
Yeah.
Brilliant poet.
Great card player.
So recruitment. The Minotaurs' numbers are estimated to almost always be around full strength. They do not seem to have any difficulty in recruiting initiates and appear to have an indoctrination and conversion process that is remarkably swift.
And heavy-handed.
And yeah. Being a fleet-based chapter opens up a variety of worlds and recruits with different traditions, customs, but once taken into the chapter, all that is washed away and becomes irrelevant.
It helps, I think, that they're a fleet-based chapter. The ability to draw from pretty much wherever their fleet is.
Sure.
Is really going to help their, quick personnel turnaround.
Sure.
You don't have to come back and okay, we took all the recruits from this generation. We'll have to wait, 15, 20, 30 years and then come back
Well,
again.
the recruitment process is super easy. They just put their hand on your shoulder and they go, "Were you hurt as a child? Come to the Minotaur.
Do you want to now hurt other people?
We understand your pain and know how to direct it." that's it. And then you signed up. Boom, you get power arm, you get the bolt gun, everything. You get to go. Gene seed fucking injected.
Some weird rage overtakes you. And you're like, Astartes, I hate Astartes.
Yeah, the 21st millennium is full
Maybe
of
they
shitty
hate
people.
others because they hate themselves.
Oh no!
That's why they just need a friend.
What a sad chapter. Aw.
I want to open up Dylan's therapy clinic for starters.
Big D's therapy.
All it is it's just hug therapy for a half hour. Dylan's like, we're just gonna hug.
I was gonna shut up and dance for a solid 45 minutes.
It's cool. So their fleet-based chapter, they have a huge fleet. Like they took like half of the Lamenters fleet. They took like
the Inceptors.
Yeah, and they've done it a bunch of times. Normally, Space Marine fleets don't have that many ships. Maybe like under 10 for sure of like strike cruisers and battle barge. Maybe 3 battle barges if you're lucky, and like 5 strike cruisers.
Yeah, 3 battle barges is a lot because even some of the big ones only have 2. So.
If you could think of a Space Marine chapter to rival them fleet-wise, who would it be?
Eric, I know where you're gonna go with
There's
this.
2.
Eric has any excuse to talk about his pet project.
I can think of 2 off the top of my head.
I got the one, Black Templar for sure. I don't know what other one you're thinking.
Grey Knights. If ever there was
okay,
a chapter that was as equally
Funded
and armed and supplied, I would say Grey Knights.
Sure. And Grey Knights have to be way more spread out, so they have way more strike cruisers.
Yeah,
and
because
shit
they'll
to
need
do.
a
Exactly.
whole ship to themselves.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'll only concede to this, Eric, because it just so happens that Eric's 2 favorite chapters are Templars and Grey Knights.
What? I would never.
Find any way to shoehorn them into any chapter.
Look at my wealth of knowledge. Look at my famous podcast.
Oh, Eldar? That's like Grey Knights.
If any race is psychic and strong enough.
I think I might make it my mission now to
insert.
somehow mention either Black Templar or Grey Knights in any episode we do it.
Should come dressed as one of those chapters for the next episode.
Imperial observers during the Antigonus campaign noted that the transition from neophyte to scout to full marine in the chapter was remarkably fast, and also highlighted the heavy use of hypno-indoctrination and neurocerebral surgery involved, as well as the monitoring and refreshing of these techniques in full marines by the apothecaries of the chapter.
Holy fuck, that's some shit.
Yeah, like they go above and beyond with the hypno-indoctrination and surgeries even.
Right.
Yeah.
That's some real, like, let's put our fingers in your brain kind of stuff. Like, that's crazy.
I think a lot of people also don't understand like the level of manipulation that's happening on a lot of Marines. Like I'm assuming these guys are getting absolutely mind wiped, and everything in their brain is being replaced with like, you are a Minotaur, you listen to the chapter, you fight Astartes. You know, you don't have friends, you're paranoid.
Effective, but
But your daddy is rich, but he doesn't love you. He tries to buy your love.
This is not
That makes you angry.
Sticking your hand in my brain is not how you cure depression. Okay? It's like,
Speak for yourself.
it's kind of suspicious. Like, it makes sense. Obviously, it's effective. But it's like, what are they really doing?
Exactly. What are they erasing? What are they adding in there that we don't know about?
Yeah.
You know, whose fingers are actually manipulating these guys?
What's the difference between the before and after, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
These methods have led to rumors that the chapter master, as possibly other members as well, are engrammically enforced personalities and memories. So it's like a repeating person, essentially.
Yeah, the idea is that they are like building personalities through implanting memories in your brain.
Yeah, that might not even be your memories.
Yeah.
And then they do it to the next chapter master and the next one.
Yeah. It's almost like exarchs, right? Like how they adopt the personality of the last one, but instead they're like artificially forcing another person's personality traits
It's like
onto
the
you.
pure blood, like the pure tide chip,
Yeah.
right? Where they insert it into your brain and you're kind of overtaken by this other personality. So we don't know to the extent of whether that's happening here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we do know they are manipulating.
They're doing
your
something.
memories.
Yeah. Find a way to relate that to Grey Knights, though.
Well,
what else is it
Knights.
like?
Yeah. No, I only have to do it once.
Okay, fine.
I don't want to be too heavy-handed with my insertions. You know? I've heard it's the slow knife in the back that cuts the deepest. So,
Okay.
just a little Batman line for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Batman.
Thanks, Batman.
You're
Eric.
welcome.
Fucking idiot. Who's next?
I think it's Marcus's turn.
Didn't I
No,
just
no,
read?
you just did
read,
it. It's
yeah,
my
it's-
turn. All right, let's talk about the appearance. How does the Minotaur chapter appear as they're killing you?
Cloved feet, furry legs, horns,
Big bull horns,
bull horns.
Yeah.
Pretty obvious, pretty self-explanatory,
tan,
really.
bronzy, muscular chest.
Oh, so
And torso.
tan.
Looks easy to cuddle, but don't you do it. Don't you do it. It's not what they want.
That's not till the third date. There are some extremely strong visual themes that run through the Minotaurs, primarily the blend of Greek and Spartan markings, colors, and accessories. This has no real like in-universe explanation, obviously, with those societies and civilizations being long dead and forgotten.
And it's not like they recruit from a planet that is
Right.
stuck in that era or whatever.
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
it's
It's just the reference that we get outside looking in.
yeah.
Right.
But keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah. So from chiseled torso chests, they have abdominal muscles all over their armor. I'm going to say this wrong. but
Abdominal
it's-
muscles all over, so not just in
That's
the
right.
abdominal area.
You can see them on their arms
Very
and
nice.
their legs.
I have
Very
native abs. I have 106 abs.
Yeah, they just remove all the muscles on your body and replace them with abdominal muscles. Check out my calf abs.
You have my toes of abs. Each of your toes is a little six-pack.
each finger.
Has a six-pack.
Each six-packs on your knuckles.
So they have the Pterugus,
Turkeys.
leather strips that fasten to armor, hanging over vulnerable points, Corinthian-style T-visor helmets, helmet hair plumes, deep-flowing red capes that hang from the shoulders of their heroes.
All types of Greek goodness. And
Yeah.
Bronzed armor.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
it's
fun.
very cool, very thematic and cinematic.
Yeah, when you see them holding storm shields, they're usually like round circle with the
Heraldic shields.
with
They've got that little cutout on the shield so
Yeah.
they can, poke the spear through. Little precision poking.
Cool. It's
Yeah.
300 but for 40k.
Yeah,
it's,
essentially.
There's buttons. There's a lot of similar parallels, which is really
Yeah.
cool. That's an awesome idea for a chapter.
Yeah. The power armor worn by the Battle Brothers of this chapter typically bears iconography denoting rank and battlefield record, but many of these symbols have meanings hidden from outsiders to the chapter. So they have like a lot of iconography and heraldry on it that really is impossible to decipher if you aren't
I don't know.
a
It looks
member.
like Greek to me.
It all looks like Greek
It's just
to me.
written in straight Greek writing. It's like, there's no illusion.
Can we get a Greek on the podcast to translate this?
Bring it to the Greek.
It's 40k. They don't know how to read Greek, so for them it's fun.
Yeah.
It's alien, right?
If you're watching the video feed, like here's a good example. Like this symbol here, do we know what it means? It's just a Greek symbol. Maybe they know what it means in their chapter. It has
Yes.
something.
Well, it's going
It's
to
a
have
lambda,
a different meaning.
yeah,
Yeah.
Five
exactly.
upside
And like
down.
some of these kind of extra things, but it's a 5 upside down.
It's a Greek lambda.
The chapter badge is a red bull's head with black horns on a bronze background. And their color scheme is that of bronze power armor. The right pauldron bears the chapter's icon, and the left pauldron displays the squad tactical specialty emblem, battle line, close combat, fire support, veteran, command. And their war gear casing is painted red. So, similarly to a lot of the Codex compliant chapters, you could look at a Marine and understand their rank and position within the army itself.
Yeah. Like they are a Codex complying chapter. Like they
They don't exceed the 1,000 limit. They keep their squads pretty
broken down into tactical squads. Broken
Yeah,
down into all
exactly.
that.
They keep like Devastator companies, and assault companies.
I wonder
They've
what
got
their
the Veteran
scouts look
First
like.
Company. I don't know, but we do know that process is really short,
Yeah,
right?
so maybe they don't even deploy scouts for long.
Maybe there's not enough time. They're just constantly moving up to full Marines.
Yeah.
And if they're well funded, they have
Yeah.
here's a suit of power armor. Go.
Yeah, I suppose, eh?
The Minotaurs do not generally display squad number or company indicators on their battle plate. So that's one of the few things that you
kinda
might have
interesting.
trouble with.
Because that kind of fits into like the all or nothing kind of vibe. It's like, hey, we are one chapter. We fight as one chapter. Let's not show that kind of that insignia.
That's kind of, I like that thought.
If you date one, you have to date all of them.
Right. We're a package deal.
It's an all-inclusive family. Okay.
Members of the elite veteran First Company wear a variant of the chapter badge, a bronze bull's head on a dark red background. So it's kind of a little inverted, right?
Yeah.
The Minotaurs Chapter original badge was a blue bull's head on a yellow background, while their power armor was yellow with red stripes and decorations. Now, that would be the M32 Marines, we think.
Probably, yeah.
With most likely the M36 ones having changed to this bronze armor. Unfortunately, we have no proof of when that actually changed.
Yeah.
But we assume it's from M32 to M36. M36 is kind of like their true most accepted origin.
Yeah.
Whereas the M32 one, there's a lot of weird shit that surrounds it.
And it's so far back in the past,
with so little records between. Yeah. Anyways, that's kind of what they look like.
Here's an official piece of artwork from them.
Tiny.
They're very
Did you draw that?
yeah. It's red and yellow tiger stripes all over the place. It's outlandish.
It's very different.
Very aggressive, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that that stripe-like pattern on a chapter before. That's quite cool.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You've never met the Imperial Zebras?
Definitely.
Zebras don't exist, and they haven't for 40,000 years.
That's Minotaurs! Okay, Jesus Christ!
Oh, so you're saying they accidentally mixed up the history of zebras and bulls? And they're like, this is what zebras look like, so this is how we will paint our
You know those memes? It's like 13th or 12th century painter, someone describing a cat to them and them trying to paint it. Right. Someone's describing a zebra to them, and
They ended up with a minotaur.
Like, how do they know what real chicken tastes like? You know what I mean?
They don't. Yeah.
How many times has it been replicated over the time to get to the 41st? You know?
I mean, do we know what real chicken tastes like?
I've bitten into a live chicken before. I am sure I know what it tastes like. Just to be safe.
You weird Australian. The things you have to do down there to survive.
Really, McDonald's is a little bit of a different process. Okay?
Build your own burger.
It's way more interactive.
Yeah. It's an experience.
Yeah.
So that covers a lot of the chapter itself. We are going to talk about more, but we're going to take a quick break and talk about some of the more notable members of the chapter itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who wants to? So we've all picked one, and we're going to share it with the rest of the group. Who would like to go first? I will not, because I just spoke.
Okay.
I spent several hours of energy and effort putting in the research to come up with all these interesting facts about my character.
Okay.
So I think it's only right that I go first. Would that be okay with you?
You are a lying sack of shit, Dylan.
But you may go first.
All right. How do I pronounce my dude's name? Hamath Kratos. Kratos. I've played God of War. It's basically God of War, right?
That's
I'm
right.
about to read the plot of God of War.
Exactly.
Right,
Chained
cool.
weapons, you know.
Gods.
The Vigilator Sergeant. Sergeant, can I read? The Vigilator Sergeant of the 9th Company. Kratos' rise through the ranks is noted as being alarmingly quick. Ooh, he's an up-and-comer. His murderous temperament is only tolerated because of the proficiency he shows with his ballistic weapons, or as well as his skills as a ruthless and calculating leader. One of his most well-known engagements was during the Orphirian War, where he defended a fueling station at Atedum by using the human workers and servitors as bait to draw out the enemy Eldar forces. Oh, that's rough. Amazingly, the casualty rate was a low 6 of 10 civilian deaths.
Jeez.
And that was probably friendly fire.
And they all survived. He's like, this doesn't feel right. 6 of them. He's like, no, we'll call it a low number. Right?
Yeah.
This is more believable.
Wow. There's so many of you coming back than I thought would.
We're doing something wrong, surely. Get angrier, guys. Kratos is known for carrying a signum, allowing for greater communications between him and his subordinates.
It's just like a communications device.
Oh, okay.
Like a more elaborate.
Yeah, it's a targeting system too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's lots of extra sensors, lots of extra
Right.
feeds.
Yeah.
That's
allows-
just 40k speak for just a giant spotlight on his back.
And a,
Shoot
and
at
a really,
that.
a really tall antenna.
He wields a heavy bolter and carries specialty ammunition, specifically the Assassin Bolt. This hypersonic round replaces the propellant with short-burn magma fusion charges and the mass reactive warhead with a solid slugs.
And what that does is it makes them extremely fast, extreme speed, and density. They are both highly destructive and extremely accurate.
Make enemy.
So they're more for penetrating, which makes sense if you fight Astartes. You want penetration power.
Through the armor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny
Like
that
a
they call
slug.
it assassin bolts.
something like this. It's gonna sound like. That's approximately what those rounds sound like in real life.
Approximately, yes.
Not very quiet.
That's Kratos. He seems like a pretty cool dude.
I like that. I always like seeing a heavy weapon sergeant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's second in command of the 9th Company.
Yeah.
He's an up and comer. That seems pretty hardcore.
I like whenever too they kind of break the tradition. Like you guys are always like, oh, berserkers, but like, hey, you can be a berserker with a gun too.
Yeah.
Just, like unload mags into
Guns
everything.
are really effective at point blank range.
Yeah.
This gun is sick.
Especially when you're shooting slugs. I'm gonna blow away half your body.
He's gonna stick the gun in your body before pulling the trigger. That's the idea.
Your bolt gun is not a melee weapon. I have to repeat that.
Then how come I've killed so many people with it? Huh? Explain that,
Using it
chaplain.
wrong.
He takes it out of your hand and rotates it the right way. Puts it back into your hand. It's not a club. This whole time,
You've been throwing your mags at the enemy.
I thought these were boomerangs.
Killing them.
Kratos is hardcore.
Nice. Up next, I'm gonna do Aerokiss, the guardian of the deadless Krata. Aerokiss is a contemptor pattern dreadnought hecaton of the Minotaurs who served in service with the chapter for several centuries before earning honors for himself, serving at the forefront of dozens of major campaigns. So here's some cool campaigns he's been involved in. Leading a boarding assault against the Lamentor strike cruiser Media Suspicia during the Battle of
I love it when you read.
Opoteria?
I always love
He
it when
inserts letters.
Man, it's
Wherever.
like you just gotta get it out.
I like when we say a 40k name, we just look at each other like, I fucking know.
That's do you know? I don't know.
We get emails and it's like yeah, I don't know how to read well, but also like there are different dialects. Like I have a Canadian accent, so some of my words are Canadian sounding. So I don't pronounce them wrong. I just pronounce them Canadian. So don't email me about that. You know what I mean, though?
Don't hate me for being Canadian.
Yeah.
You're also dropped in the head several times as a child. That doesn't help either. It doesn't
And
help.
as an adult too. Let's not forget those incidents.
Self-inflicted injuries, of course. Trees, yo.
Dangerous, yo. It's
Yo, reading's so easy. What if I just smack myself in the face? Right, that's better.
but I love this boarding action. Like just the picture of them boarding with a dreadnought, other ships. It's just so cool.
Those hallways are not built to accommodate a dreadnought, but he doesn't care.
Don't care.
No.
So he loves boarding assaults. He led another boarding assault against the Necrons in the Orphirian War. But most infamously, Aerokiss rampaged through the Allied lines during the Bifrost Uprising after he mistakenly fired upon a detachment of Bifrost housecarls under the command of Brother Sergeant Augustine of the Viper Legion chapter. Enraged, Aerokiss killed 37 housecarls and Augustus himself, ripping apart a Lehman Russ battle tank that tried to stop him. His assault was only halted after he received an emergency countermount signal from the Minotaur Chapter Master in orbit. This rampage earned Aerokiss the title, the Terror of Bifrost.
It's funny that, and it had to come from the chapter master.
Yeah.
Not even some other like lower level high command. It's like chapter master himself had to tell him to stop.
I feel like, he's a member of the Hecaton,
Yeah.
right? He's probably only answers to the chapter master.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it's possible.
I mean, he's like the guardian of the chapter master's flagship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So while not busy ruining the days of the Emperor, Aerokiss will be found on the flagship, the Daedalus Krata, walking around the halls of the ship, keeping watch. It is noted by some outsiders that the Minotaurs actually treat him poorly. They treat their dreadnoughts poorly and stuff.
They have a very poor outlook of the dreadnoughts in their chapter.
Yeah, like what
which
that means. Are they pushing over the dreadnoughts and laughing in the halls?
right, yeah, it's like
hard to
cow
say. Yeah, exactly. It's hard-
They got 8 Marines in power armor.
tipping dreads.
So you know how like old school Spartans would like push trees and like tip them over? That's what these guys are doing. They get all their dreadnoughts that are sleeping and they're like, oh, okay, go. And they all just rush and push them all over and laugh.
There's this vision of a field of dreadnoughts in their back like turtles upside down, slowly kicking in the air, not being able to go anywhere.
Their weapons are discharged. Brother,
I can't get up.
Just these fat Incompetent machines. Fucking
Yeah, so that's most likely how they're mistreated.
yeah, most effective.
And it's also notable that it's the opposite of how other chapters treat their
Yeah.
Yes,
dreadnoughts.
most dreadnoughts are treated with respect, and
Reverence.
veneration.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Iroquois' preferred weapons are a plasma cannon and a power fist, but his dreadnought class or dreadnought chassis can host all manner of weaponry. Each one is wielded with equal skill. An automatic shield, automatic
Atomantic.
shield generator is mounted on the shoulder for added protection while in the thick of it.
It's pretty much just like a power shield.
Yeah, refractor shield, some
Yeah.
type of energy shield. His dreadnought is adorned with fetishes and trophies earned through his service. He's very cool. He's got a model. Go look at it. It's a great miniature. Or look at the Patreon, and eventually I'll find it. Boom! Look at that mini.
So, just a slight,
That's not
not correction, but his name is not Aerokis. It's Iacos or
yeah.
Akos.
Yeah,
Iacos. I'm not Greek. I don't speak that.
I do like the
language.
great like tinge in the names there. It's thematic. It's
I
cool.
do.
it's nice.
I like that.
You know,
I know. I do. I think it's very thematic.
It's different from like Latin, which you get so much in 40k, right?
Yes.
Like, fucking that sound, that feel.
Yeah.
It's refreshing. This is cool.
Cool, Mark. Thank you
big
for
boy.
sharing.
You're welcome for me sharing.
That was cool. The Hecaton. Very cool. Anyone next? Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next.
All right.
And so my character is none other than Ivanis Enkomi, the not just a chaplain, the reclusiarch of the Minotaurs Chapter. He is known as, quote, the voice of the chapter. And you got to be pretty badass to be the voice of the most badass chapter.
Well, that's a strong thought. The most badass chapter.
They fought in the badass wars. Here, they own that.
The
title.
badass wars. They were the winners
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
badass wars.
That was for the title of badassery.
Yeah, it's really hard to just go bomb a planet every 3 months.
No, it's pretty badass.
Anyways, he's notable actually for being quite quiet and reserved, which is interesting for a chaplain who is known to always be like fiery and like very talkative.
Yeah, reclusiarchs normally they're responsible for like the entire well-being of the chapter and making sure that all the brothers are okay and everyone's acting good.
Yeah, so
How's
that's
your
kind of
heresy levels, brother?
Low today, reclusiarch.
yeah. But he is known for his like fiery and passionate speeches, just like any other chaplain. But he's like quiet until it's time to speak, which kind of adds that level of gravitas and stuff. So like when he does speak, it's powerful.
The less you speak, it means that the words you do speak are offered that much more weight.
Yeah.
I wonder too how much of like him not speaking is just chapter whole. Like they all don't really necessarily.
Yeah, so he's just
speak
it's the
and-
same as everyone else.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just like why talk if you don't need
I-
to?
is that
Why
the
talk
case,
when
or-
Gun does talking for you?
Guns speak very loud. Word quiet.
Yeah.
You have more bullets than words.
He's also known, like the rest of the chapter, to be aloof from the chain of command of other Imperial forces. During the Badab War, like you said, there were so many chapters. You had like really big command councils because you had all these moving pieces. You have like, Imperial Guard generals. You have all the leaders of other chapters coming to form these war councils, come up on plans and stuff. And he's just quietly just sitting and observing, but not really like contributing or like caring what they're talking about. Because like we're just gonna do what we're gonna do.
Cool.
I watched Hell's Reach last week, and there's a scene of Grimaldus sitting on the throne, and it's like, for 7 days I endured this, just sitting on the
he's
throne,
listening
like,
to reports and like data feeds.
right.
Yeah.
Just the way he says it, it's just like, fuck.
He's just like, give me a battle, man.
Is that funny? That's very cool.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
For
not
7
all
days.
It's a
Marines
personality.
are like logisticians
Yeah.
and care about the minutia. Some do, but it sounds like this Enkomi guy, he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. An interesting feature of him is that he actually has red-rimmed eyes. And
He cries a lot?
No,
He's high?
no.
hectic stuff.
Like the eye, like his eye color,
Yeah.
are red rimmed.
He's albino.
Contacts?
Well, he could be albino.
Surgery.
Well,
Cataracts.
needs to see a doctor.
mixed gene seed.
Oh, we got some gene seeds.
we don't
inside.
Alien
we don't know
eyes.
the cause. They even say it could be from his upbringing as a a feral worlder.
Yeah, some clear eyes, that shit goes away. Like, it's super easy.
Maybe he's just irritated because his eyes are always burning.
With the fire of his
Passion.
zealousness.
And he also has red tattoos. I like to think of him as having the Kratos tattoos from God of War.
Just the lines
Just
everywhere.
like around his
sexy.
head. But we don't really know. There's no pictures of him without his helmet. His
a cool
helmet,
description.
And
interestingly
there really
enough,
aren't any pictures of him naked, although Clamshell, get on that.
needs some artwork.
Yeah.
His helmet is really cool too. It's got like the hoplite style helmet, but you can see the skull visage underneath, and he's got a cool.
Good
cool
man.
name
He
on
is a
top.
chaplain after all.
Yeah. He is also notable for actually appearing at these war councils. Again, the Minotaurs are generally standoffish, and wherever Asterian Moloch is actually expected to be, it's actually Ivanis who shows up in his stead, which is both an FU to all the other chapter masters who's like, where's your chapter master? Is like, why does he need to be here?
Yeah. He's off brooding.
No, actually, he's off on the battlefield where he is most effective. He doesn't need to plan. He needs to be in the thick of it. Yeah.
We already went through the plan, and I'm pretty sure it was sprint.
We settled on sprinting.
Okay, good. Yeah. We're all on the
From
same page.
space. Yeah.
A space sprint.
Yeah. Like any other chaplain, he's always known to be on the front lines himself, and to the point that he actually broke his Crozius, presumably on the heads of his enemies.
Or their bodies.
Or their body.
Yeah.
He was probably just beating an already dead thing
That's
so
right.
hard that he broke his own Crozius.
And with that, the surface of the planet
Cracked. He was responsible for
smash.
yeah, and so when he rebuilt his Crozius, they put a cool spinal column in it.
It's very long.
Yeah,
It's more like a
Like a
double-handed.
two-handed staff.
Yeah, right.
Presumably the spinal column of the guy who broke his corsair. You broke that? I'm taking your spine.
Tit for tat.
Yeah.
Just like rips out his spine. This will do.
That would be a cool weapon, actually, though. Like a flail spine, if it was like.
Articulated.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. Maybe he's just holding it taut
Yeah.
in the model, but like when he actually lets it go, it like flops around.
It's like a little Crozius whip.
Oh my god. Yes.
Yeah, I wish there was
please.
more information on his weapon because that's all we know about it. We don't know. It is literally a spinal column, but we don't know of what or who. And-
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. It looks a little too large to be human.
yes, unless it was another Astartes, a spinal column.
Even that, it looks a little too large to be.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vertebrae. Very nice. We know that rules out 7 species on the planet. We only have 5 vertebrae. Okay. Eric, take it away. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, was
about
there
this
anything
guy?
else?
No, that's about it. There's surprisingly not that much about him. He's like the second most popular, other than the chapter master, well-known Minotaur. But like all Minotaurs, we don't know a lot about him.
Yeah. He does have the model.
Yep.
Go Google it. Fort Row model. It's very sweet.
Very cool. Like,
I have that
I
model.
love his
It
helmet.
looks like a
Do you
guitar,
really?
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I bought them when I was doing my Death Watch. I bought those two for like.
So you have the
Minotaur bits.
spinal Crozius?
You know, it's in the bits box or somewhere. Who knows
I
where?
was gonna say I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's a cool piece.
He also uses a power fist, but that is
Yeah.
only just from observation.
Just so he can hold
it's
it.
never
Yes,
mentioned
yes.
anyway.
Yeah, the better to hold his Crozius.
That's why he's fucking breaking the thing.
He broke his own Crozius.
Yeah.
You need kid gloves.
Oh,
What are you
just like
doing?
snaps in his hand.
Better go collect another spine.
Yeah.
Looks like he could turn it upside down and just like use it as a broom or something. It's, like, it's just a multifunction.
Just one other quick thing that's interesting to note during the Badab War too, even though they were generally distanced from the chain of command and everything, they still kind of acted with more reverence towards a certain inquisitor that was there, which could be a tie back to who's really giving them
Sure,
orders.
yeah. They have weird relationships with other powers within the Imperium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But usually tied to the High Lords. It's usually where that goes. But yeah, and other than that, that is Ivanis Incoming.
Cool.
Well, the peanut butter to Ivanis's jelly, the salt to his pepper, the
Mark to his Eric.
mark to Ivanis's Eric.
It's about
Wow,
family,
I actually
guys.
like that. You can be Asterian Moloch,
Okay, perfect.
and I will be Ivanis and Comey.
Okay, I'm a fiery orator. You guys want to hear a speech? I am a pastor now, which I will be telling you guys about more later. By the way,
I'm really
We're
excited
getting
to hear. What's the title of this church cult? Practice? Belief system?
like the going title right now is the Cult of Mark, but we'll
Okay.
get to it later.
All right.
It's a bit aggressive.
I'm already in.
It's a going
Okay.
title.
All right,
It's
all
not settled.
It's a
yet.
working title.
Yeah, working title.
So I am going to talk about Asterion Moloch,
Ooh,
who is
yes.
the current chapter master of the Minotaurs. So Asterion has been described many different ways: diligent, disciplined, a strategist, a logistician, master of siegecraft,
Ooh.
paranoid,
Oh.
bloody-handed, murderer. His name, as we have previously mentioned, is a byword for slaughter and destruction, specifically carried out in the Emperor's name.
It's quite the title. It's a lot of
You
lot to
think
live up
people
to.
like curse his name? Not curse. his
Cursed
name?
by his name?
Yeah, like Moloch upon you or something like
Yeah,
that.
sure. Like they're trying to like bring death and destruction.
Yeah.
Or when you're like being particularly paranoid, they're like, "Why are you being such a Moloch today?"
And then he beats the shit out of you
Right, of
for
course,
saying that
yeah.
to you. Yeah.
Because you're paranoid, and he's probably going to steal you and sell all your organs.
Happened to a friend of mine.
It can happen.
It can happen.
So Asterion Moloch is at least 500 years old.
Oh, wow.
And he has been in danger of death 7 recorded times. His body has
Someone
been,
get this guy the Primaris Rubicon.
It's not enough times, to be honest. For a chapter master? Come on, man.
His body has been rebuilt with cybernetic augments, and his brain has been engrammatically altered, affecting his memories and potentially his personality.
What does that word mean, engrammatically?
An engram, I believe, last I looked, is the manipulation of someone's memories.
Oh, okay. So it's specifying to memory.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Or their brains.
You know how when like
I
the
think
I'm not like a doctor. So.
when the CIA takes you and like puts you in a secret lab and they
Right.
brainwash you and like implant
give you lots of
false
acid
memories.
and put you in float tubs
Yeah.
and stuff. Try
what
to make
happened to
you
you?
access the.
I'm not saying it happened to
plane.
me.
Is this possible? Well, you wouldn't remember, would you?
No, no.
You look like the type.
I,
like,
I wouldn't be the
God,
guy to do it to other people either.
look
I don't work for the CIA, is what I'm trying to say.
You have the kind of face
That's
someone-
exactly what a CIA agent would say.
Yeah.
You're a very abductable person. You got that kind of face going on. I mean,
You got the kind of face that just makes me want to put you in a sack and put you in a throwaway hole.
aliens, FBI, either way.
hole.
A little
Down the hole
oubliette.
you go.
Oh
Let's
my
see what
To be
happens.
experimented on and probed,
Yeah.
of course.
Don't worry, we'll engrammatically
last
alter
time,
you so you will
Christian.
have no memory.
Eric releases the bag over the hole. Mark was sad he never saw his friend again.
But that's what he wanted from Christian this whole time.
That's nice. Okay, tell us more about Moloch.
Moloch is often found in one of two places, either on his brazen throne, watching over a multitude of data feeds counting the blood cost of his conquest, which is really neat. He, really is the logistician and strategist that he says he is.
Or, alternative take, he's not at all. And going through all this drives him to such a fiery rage. And when he does go on the battlefield, no planning matters because he's so worked up. He cannot be
He
stopped.
just uses it to recharge his rage juices.
Yeah.
It's like a self-imposed punishment.
Exactly.
Some people use the pain glove.
Some
I
people-
use computers. So so he's either found on his throne watching these data feeds in the middle of his ship, or he's at the head of his Terminators slamming into enemy lines.
Cool.
It's really one or the other.
Yeah, he wears this huge, sweet Tartarus armor we'll get into, but
Yeah.
Sweet.
Terminators are sweet.
Yeah.
The Minotaurs' history, we've talked about this before, but it's riddled with the persecution of traitors, iconoclasts, and renegades, especially from within the ranks of the Adeptus Astartes. They've earned a knowledge of how to effectively dismantle and destroy other Astartes forces, and Asterion Moloch seems to personally revel in his role as executioner. He looks for chances to apply this knowledge, and he seems to actively place his chapter in conflicts with other Astartes. They seek it out, really.
Yeah.
Whether that's at the command of the High Lords of Terra, or they're kind of just given a loose leash to go wherever they want. Who
Yeah.
knows? But Moloch definitely, he looks for it.
Yeah.
His armor is an extremely ornate suit of Tartarus pattern Terminator armor. His weapon is the Black Spear, supposedly once wielded by the Adeptus Custodes. It also can fire a powerful single-shot laser. He carries a storm shield marked with archaic Terran helic glyphs of unknown meaning. It's a round shield we've mentioned before with these small cutouts where he would presumably place his spear.
And
stab.
And stab. Do the stabby stab, yeah.
There are rumors that he couldn't possibly have survived all his close brushes with death, and that the Asterian Moloch is a title that has been passed down. And I think the theory is lent a little strength through the use of their engrams, their memory manipulation, their extensive hypno-indoctrination. So.
For all we know, like, Asterian Moloch doesn't even know he's not Asterian Moloch.
Right,
the
yeah.
original.
Yeah, you just think you are because you've been given all the history and memories and personality of
And
your
like,
predecessor.
shit, I was wounded that time. That was bad. I'm glad I survived.
Right, but yeah, you did
actually
it.
didn't.
Everything becomes real fucky real quick.
Yeah.
Like now everything's subjective based on how we've manipulated your perception. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay.
Maybe he's insane through all of this,
Right.
and that's why he constantly focuses on these, marine chapters and constantly pitting his own chapter against them. Like, who's pulling the strings behind him with his weird High Lords of Terra? But whatever we do know, he's a savage.
Yeah.
He's
It's sweet.
He's an absolute savage.
He's also a big boy, right? He's described as being particularly tall for an Astartes.
I didn't see that anywhere, but
I've heard that before too, and like
I don't know if that
especially with
comes-
his like all his cybernetics and stuff that really like helped. But
Yeah, and like, does that come from his armor that he's particularly imposing, or is that him as a person? He just happens to be a big boy.
Well, it fits. Like he's the chapter master of a berserker tribe. You know what I mean? Like it's
it
very
would.
fitting.
I could see that. Yes.
Yeah,
of
definitely,
course.
One quick interesting note too, just from Ivanis and Komai's page on him, because obviously being the voice of the chapter, they have a close relationship. While
Yeah, I told
Ivanis,
you it's the salt to my pepper.
yeah, exactly. They didn't really have proof that Moloch was actually at the Badab War, only because of picked feeds of him on the battlefield. Because he never showed up to any of the command stuff. So they're like, the only reason they know Moloch is here is because they captured him in the front line.
Killing people.
He's taking selfies while he's murdering people. It's all his photos. He took them himself.
It's a funny side note. I have some theories on him. I don't know if we want to discuss it now or
theories,
discuss
but
it later.
Why don't you just share the story that you were talking about earlier?
Okay, so my personal theory comes from a recent encounter. So during the
Hexarchy.
the Hexarchy, when the High Lords were trying to overthrow Gulliman, and the Minotaurs are called back to Terra, and they're fighting Custodes, who are no slouches, obviously, in combat. Asterian Moloch is about to have a duel with none other than Shield Captain, I forget his name, Valerius?
That sounds right.
Yeah. Who is a Custodes Shield Captain. So not only is he just a run-of-the-mill Custodes, he is good at what he does.
Yeah. Allegedly.
And when Asterian shows up and they're going to face off, Valerian or Valerius holds like his guardian spear towards the chapter master and orders him not to come closer. And the chapter master continues to just like march towards him. Like they're going to show down, they're going to have a fight. Yeah. And Valerius even questions whether or not he has the skill to kill Moloch.
Crazy.
In combat.
Yeah.
Like he's making a Custodes doubt his own abilities, which is a pretty significant feat.
just that presence he has, like that strong
And
bloodlust.
reputation.
yeah.
And
The
like
strength of
and-
him, his history.
Formidable opponent.
Valerius is like scanning him for any kind of weakness, because Custodes are like smart fighters, right? They look
Yeah.
for like, does he have a weird gait? What weaknesses can I exploit in him? And he can't find anything. And like he has this internal dialogue where like he's like going through his head of like the people he thinks might be able to kill Moloch, which includes like Primarch levels, including Gulliman. He's like, yeah, Gulliman could do it. So and so could do it. He's like, I don't think I can do it, or many, if anyone else could.
Yeah.
And so that's the assessment of like one of the best class of fighters ever.
In the Imperium.
Did they fight?
No, the duel ends. I believe the Minotaurs receive
They received the order from Victorus?
Yeah.
What's her name? Like a loyalist High Lord.
Yeah.
Because they had received their previous order from like a one of the High Lords that was involved in the Hexarchy. So technically they were on the wrong side of this coup, but it was kind of an unknown thing. They were being ordered.
Like they didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just following orders.
Exactly. They didn't know like
That
the full
excuse
story.
never ends well in history.
So Moloch won without even having to fight.
What
him,
was her
essentially.
name?
Yeah. But like right before they come to blows.
Violetta Roscavler. She was the one who like gave them their new orders and stopped.
Yeah. And that literally happens like the minute they're about to like engage. Like and like the Valerius is like stop and he just keeps marching forward. So it's like
cool. Yeah. That's so cool. We get that tidbit of like just his assessment in the moment of like, wait a second, I might have to do a job. I can't. And so we get that honesty. We get that honesty from it, which is sweet. Yeah.
Which is weird from Custodes.
Yeah.
Because they're supposed to be this, you know, like they are the best.
Yeah.
and confident in their abilities.
Yeah, they know their abilities.
But
They're
here's
constantly fighting each other to like hone them and keep them sharp.
So then that raises a question. Is he doubting himself or is he just making an honest assessment of his own skills?
Exactly.
Being like, straight up, I know I can't beat this guy in a fight, right?
And you could assume that like a Custodi is smart enough to like understand the realism of the scenario that he's in. You know, they're like, I feel like a Custodi is not going to like try and push themselves to prove a point. They're more just going to be like, I'm going to win this and I'm going to use it. I'm going to win using whatever it takes.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see him have those doubts.
Yeah.
There's that element of humanity still in Custodes that normally you would assume is stamped out and gone.
Or alternatively, it's just like I said, like
Or
not a
it's
lot.
a
A lot
real
of humans are
approach.
too arrogant.
Yeah.
And think like, you know, that classic. Oh, you won't break my will even if you break my body. You see it like whenever someone has a fight, like fighting movies do it all the time, where you're a boxer and like you get knocked down 20 times, you're like, no, I'm gonna get up and keep going.
Sure. Your
Whereas
strength
this
of
is
will.
where this is like just a direct computation, like
Cold.
hard calculation of like
Yeah.
I'm gonna lose this fight probably.
Yeah.
It's cool that we got that assessment as opposed to him not assessing it like that. They're just fighting, potentially losing. But then we never get that validation of like, no, he is top shit. You know, I calculated this and I did the math. Like, it's very cool. You know, it's sweet.
Which leads to the theory, but I'll save the theory for later.
Yeah. We'll save it. We'll save it.
So that was Valorous that said that?
No, not Valoris. Valerius.
Valerius.
Yes. They made a black
a
library
different
model.
custom.
That's right.
Oh, okay, but he still has a model.
Yeah, he was one of that special black library pairing with him and a Sister of
that's
Silence.
the circle. Yeah. Okay. I thought we were talking about the lead of the custom.
Oh.
Saying that. Like, holy fuck! But still, even any custom, it's still crazy.
Yeah, I think it's Valerian actually. Yeah, Valerian.
Yeah.
Which again, the shield captain of the Custodes is still no slug.
Oh yes, for sure.
Yeah. Any Custodes, in my opinion, should not have trouble beating a space marine.
My big question while I was wondering that is like these guys both have tabletop rules. I wonder who would actually come out on top.
the table.
Yeah.
I was looking at Moloch's through the Imperial Armory. I think one of the more recent iterations of him, but definitely not 9th. He didn't seem that. Like, he was big, beefy boy, 7 wounds back in the day.
7 wounds, yeah.
He could last a while, but like his
7 wounds, 3 up save, invuln.
2 up.
Oh, 2 up armor, 3 up invuln.
Yeah. But strength only 4, toughness 4, the more classic marine.
Yeah.
Like, it's still on the tabletop. He's like not as strong or as tough as a Custodi, right? So, but we all know that isn't normally a direct
tabletop's
translation.
1-to-1.
But
Yeah.
somebody needs to play that battle out. With models fully painted on a 20 by 20 foot board.
That's right, yeah. And you need to go through 1,000 fights so we can get an accurate
Representation, right? You got to eliminate the randomness of dice.
That's right, yeah. They alternate who starts and stuff. So.
Have you seen the fights they do with Primarch profiles?
Yeah,
Where they,
I did that.
Run them multiple times.
Yeah, they did that on Warhammer Community, and they were trying to figure out like who's the best.
Yeah.
Eh.
I'm just saying it was cool.
was
cool that he tried.
interesting,
It was an honest,
sure.
like scientific approach versus like
Lorgar
my
made
Primarch
it.
is the best because I like him.
Lorgar made it way farther in that competition than I thought he would have.
Hey, well, Demon Lorgar. Who is
was
pumped
it
up.
Demon? I don't
Yes.
think.
Yes, I was there, Eric. I remember every dice roll. Absolutely.
All right.
What was the 16th number to appear on the dice?
26.
You got good dice, dude. That's strong.
Yeah, you put D100s.
All right.
What's
So
next on this?
those are some characters. They're cool. They have a lot. Go check out.
They have a
some
lot more of the Hecaton dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to jump into the armory. So the Minotaurs are said to be one of the best equipped chapters in the whole Imperium. The exact source of the Minotaurs' war material has remained unconfirmed, but many have observed the unusual amount of resources assigned to them. There's a couple reasons why this could be. So large replenishable stockpiles of tanks and heavy armor. Or there's a couple examples of these good equipments. So large replenishable stockpiles of tanks and heavy armor, including relic vehicles such as the Spartan assault tank and the Storm Eagle gunships. Both two that are like Horus Heresy, Great Crusade level stuff. Like the Spartan assault tank was dropped relatively quick.
Yeah.
Yet they have access to it. Extensive supplies of armor, including void-hardened Mark III iron power armor, the newest Mark VIII errant power armor, and almost enough Terminator armor to equip the entire First Company, including the rare Tartarus and Arconaut patterns.
Arconac.
Yeah, it's incredibly rare for chapters to, like, I don't even know if Ultramarines can do it.
They can put their whole
Company and Terminators, yeah. I've never heard of that Arconaut pattern before. No imagers, nothing.
No.
It's not real.
Doesn't exist.
Not real. It's made up.
It definitely sounds like Argonaut, which throws you right back into like Jason.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That old school Greek Roman history.
Yeah. They also have a wide variety of arms and weapons, including power armors of the finest quality and like incredibly rare, including the advanced Ryza pattern plasma weapons. They just got it all. They got whatever they need.
They got everything plus their own unique shit.
Yeah.
They are well equipped.
Yeah. And the other really big thing that they have is the Daedalus Krata.
So it's a relic ship classed as a heavy assault carrier. It serves as the mobile fortress monastery of the Minotaurs Chapter and flagship of their chapter master, Asterion Moloch. It's in there that he has all his data feeds, kind of has his throne room.
Yeah.
And I think it's described as having maze-like corridors.
Yeah.
This is the flagship you were referring to earlier, right?
Yes.
The one you were very impressed by?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and here's why. Because it's a massive vessel shadowing all other vessels in Terra's orbit, save the Phalanx.
Crazy.
Its flanks are of burnished bronze, marked with stripes of black and red. Its prow is painted red, resembling bloodstains.
How do we know they're not bloodstains? They're just ramming their ship through.
Into like void whales, just going right through.
That's very cool. Like to put blood splatter on your fucking on your flagship. It's kind of gangster.
Seeing that thing in orbit above your
Yeah.
planet, like, oh no, death is coming.
Oh, here we go.
How much blood did you use? That's crazy.
The crazy thing is that size, man. The Phalanx.
Yeah, what's the phalanx? Can you remind me?
Isn't it the biggest?
The
craft?
Phalanx is the largest. Yeah.
Is that like the Emperor was his flagship?
No, that was Rogel Dorn's.
Okay.
And it was used by the Imperial Fist, and it's only recently been extremely heavily damaged in, I think, the 13th Black Crusade.
Yeah.
Right.
But still under
But still operable.
Yeah.
Like the Phalanx is massive, and
This thing rocks up to it and goes, "Yo, what's up? I can play too." So
Exactly,
It's kind of sick.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the largest starship known to have been constructed by the human hands.
the
And
Phalanx.
The magnitude has been not seen since the age of technology. So
Yeah.
this thing is old, it's ancient, it's...
Yeah.
Do we
like
have a number?
Rogel found it.
I
don't
measure
have a
it?
number.
I think
don't
it's pretty comparable to like the Blackstone fortresses.
It's crazy.
And like
I don't know.
In
man.
size?
I think Blackstone fortresses are way bigger. I think
Yeah?
like
Okay.
Blackstone fortresses are like unimaginably large, where this is like the biggest thing you've ever seen, but still you can conceptualize like, okay, it's like a Death Star, like bigger than a planet situation.
Right.
It's described as like the size of a hive city in space. But then hive cities are also bigger than anything we can conceptualize
Right, yeah.
now.
They can take hundreds and hundreds of kilometers long.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
It's described as many kilometers long.
Yeah.
So, take that with a grain of
Yeah,
kilometers.
so it's like a couple in New York City. It could be like one New York City. It could be a couple in New York City. Something
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Yeah, right.
But it's huge. It's the biggest thing humans have ever created.
Crazy.
And then this is like the second biggest thing. Definitely, the weird thing is it does say specifically in Terra's orbit. So there might be something else out there, but like this was the first thing
Also-
I've seen that's ever been compared to the Phalanx.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Another thing to note about Terra and orbit is that they actually have orbital plates on Terra, like massive floating,
Oh,
Kind of like a
platforms.
shield,
city-sized or continent-sized.
continent-sized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Platforms? Or-
yeah,
Right.
essentially platforms that like hover, like they're in low Earth atmosphere, and they just kind of like go with like geosynchronous orbit, and they just kind of like float around.
Yeah.
What's their function?
I think they use them as anything from like weapons platforms, like
Landing
additional
platforms,
land space,
but also shield
yeah,
generators.
like if you've
and-
populated the Earth so
Sure.
much, like you like build up on those. I'm sure they have their own cities. And,
It's like a cool floating shell.
It's like a continent in space.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Okay,
it just kind of
gotcha,
floats around.
That's kind of cool.
And one of them crashes actually by a Custodes.
The Daedalus Krata is equipped with a bombardment cannon, a teleportarium capable of transporting at least 31 Terminators and 2 Contemptor pattern dreadnoughts at once, and boarding torpedoes.
A cannon, you say?
The vessel sports gigantic cannon emplacements. This thing is no slouch. At the center of the maze-like chambers is a brazen throne, where Lord Moloch pores over data feeds and casualty reports, surrounded by tabulation servitors.
You're just using abacuses.
Boring desk He's got power armor on, so he can't really operate it with his giant fingers. So he's just kind of propelling it. So he's just
So
feeling more
it's just
worse
a
about
giant abacus. It's like his size. There's massive echoes every time it moves.
himself.
In his like more fiery moments, when he's moving it really quickly, the entire ship shakes.
Oh, you can feel it rock back
Doing
and
some
forth.
real math.
Each of the beads of the skull of his enemies. Slide it across.
Yes.
It's
Dipped in metal.
It's memories every time he slides one of those across. It's like, oh, I remember.
It's actually his old bodies. But they tell him that they're the enemies.
Yeah, right. These were all the Molochs before you know.
Yeah, so that is kind of the Minotaurs chapter.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a fleet-based chapter that goes around hunting Astartes
Pretty hardcore.
at the behest of the High Lords of Terra.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't
This is
really
shit.
we didn't really play into the High Lords of Terra because we kind of wanted to save it for this Tales of the Warp section.
Tales of
I love Tales of the Warp. Tales
Yeah.
of the Warp's my favorite segment on Lorehammer.
So-
you know that popular podcast people listen to? Yeah, that's this really cool segment. They used to do it heaps, but I'm really excited for this.
Wasn't the podcast called that at one point, or was that?
Maybe.
No.
I don't know. There's an earlier
That was
iteration.
definitely a name thrown around.
Yeah,
was Tales
it
from
was
the
it
Warp.
before Lorehammer became.
Before
No, it was.
Beginner's Guide.
That's right. Yeah, I think you guys threw around Tales of the Warp. We settled on a beginner's guide to 40K, and then we almost immediately changed it. to Lorehammer.
Lorehammer is so obvious too. It's like, why wasn't that just the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
choice?
You hear it and you're like, "Oh, I'm the stupid."
Some things are so obvious you don't hear it. You don't think of them, right? You know.
Well, so let's dive right in. There's going to be a couple things that we're going to cover and toss around.
I'm already
there's gonna
up to my neck in mystery and suspense in that pool. I want to
I'm
take
gonna
the
hold
plug.
your head underneath
Yes,
till the bubbles
yes,
stop.
please.
To the face.
Also, there's gonna be some fighting.
Drown me in your esoteric knowledge. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is where did the Minotaurs really come from? We have 3 instances of them appearing. So they're M32, where we know almost nothing about them. We have M36, where they kind of enter their berserker phase, and there's the 21st Curse founding. And then we have M41, where they appear, and they are quite different from their N36
New colors.
ancestors. Well, we don't even know if it's the new colors, but it's more about how they comport themselves with other chapters.
Right.
So,
We know that they evolve over time. So it's either they are growing with age and becoming different things, or they're getting replaced. It's the same person but changing, or it's not the same person. So I don't know. What are your theories?
I think one of the more acceptable theories is that the M32 Minotaurs have no relationship to the M36 ones. I think that's what most people would take out of it.
Yeah. Well, it's just, if they're founded in M36, how can they be founded in M32 is kind of a big jump.
Yeah, I think
You're
there's
already founded, you can't be founded.
Yeah.
I think if it was the case that it is true,
Yeah.
there's enough bullshit that happens in the Imperium that you could easily
You could do a refounding or what.
Of course,
just
yeah.
like-
It can just
yeah,
be
yeah.
a clerical error.
Yeah,
You know, like we say they were founded in M21st and we just we lost this chapter's record, so we put
gonna
it
make a
in.
new one.
Yeah, exactly. We just say they're part of this, right? So
Yeah.
I like to think they went extinct, and that's why they changed.
Yeah.
And now they come back and they're like wearing someone else's face, kind of thing. Like, no, I'm the same guy. Like, I've always been here.
I've always been human.
Yeah. It's like the face all
I
bloody.
do
and,
human
like,
things.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like they were originally kind of founded, like, their first recording is them fighting other Space Marine chapters, right? or traitor, Chaos Legion chapters. So that they're proficient in killing people in power armor. And like that theme never really changes.
That's true.
There's no strong evidence to say that they've been replaced. Most likely they've just been manipulated. Like they talk so much about like the way they're trained, the way they're indoctrinated, or the brain manipulation. I think the most likely outcome is they've just been maybe changed and manipulated over time, whether on their own initiative or someone else on the outside.
So what do you guys think? Do you think that the M32 all the way up is the same chapter? Let's get a yay or nay on that.
I'm going nay.
Mark's
Nay.
going nay.
Nay.
Chris is
I'm
nay.
gonna say yeah.
Yay. I'm willing to say yay because I really
Wow.
like.
Split the vote there.
This side gang, yeah, let's go.
I think that there's a lot of way cooler things to talk about with the High Lords of Terra, and the fact that this chapter seems to dip in and out of history, and they are constantly changing, and it feels to me like they are almost an experimentation. And like a chapter that is like we're using them as like our hand, and you know, we're seeing how they worked in M32, and then we take them back and we make some changes, hide them for a little bit, reintroduce them. You know, we worked on their gene seed.
Yeah.
And maybe we re-release them in M36. And then we realize, oh my God, these guys are crazy.
It's a reboot, not a sequel.
Yeah,
it's a
exactly.
Reboot, not a sequel.
They feel like reboots to me,
Exactly,
for
yeah, I
sure.
agree.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, I like that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You may have changed my vote. I kind of like the idea though, like the High Lords like took a chapter, it went extinct, so it was a perfect opportunity for like a backdoor to insert their own chapter.
sure.
And that's why I use that description, like someone wearing someone else's face.
Right.
Like, oh no, we're totally the same guys. Wink, you know, like not actually. But
Yeah.
I do like your thing where it plays into the whole like manipulation and like, okay, we got to work on them, tweak them, and then send them back out.
Yeah.
But then what are they tweaking? Why do they require manipulation?
So,
what is wrong with them to be necessary for that kind of for them to change to begin with? I don't know. Like,
I think there's enough talk about their personality changes from their M32, M36, M41 that you can see the similarities between M32 and M41. They are...
But calling a Space Marine a berserker or like brutal, you can pretty much say that about all of them. So is it really that good of a comparison?
I do think it is. I think that there's enough mentions of the fact that they have left behind this desire to only work alone, and their refusal to accept anyone else's help. And they go back to the M41, where they are willing to work with people, they're willing to accept help and be a little more part of the bigger solution, which is exactly how they acted in M32. Their willingness to work with other chapters and come to a common goal, whereas the M36 seems so far removed.
So you're basically saying, the High Lords took them at M32, did some stuff, released them. It was not good. So
it wasn't their perfect thing.
Yeah, they're like, if we need loyal lapdogs, we still need them to work together with all our other tendrils, which is the Imperium.
So they
at
tried
large.
it out for a couple
Yeah,
thousand
they're like,
years, didn't quite like it. They called
Bring
them
them
back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, then they allow someone to manipulate their gene seed in M36. They're like, we need a little more savageness in them. We need them to be willing to like destroy their brothers, with impunity. And so then they release these newer creations, these M36 ones, and they're like, oh my God. This is, what have we done? They destroyed an entire Inceptors chapter. All we needed was them to slap them around a little bit.
Too much.
Yeah, and so I think you can kind of see that in the changes in their personality between those three kind of examples that we have.
Sure.
But that's as good as I got in this whole thing.
Yeah, ultimately, I'm not opposed if it's all the same chapter. It doesn't really matter, but it is cool to think, what happened?
Yeah, I also like the idea that they're stealing the previous chapter's identity.
Sure.
Yeah,
Right?
they're like, the High Lords are like, well, we have a little bit of an empty slot here that we can just insert ourselves.
Like if the CIA was going to infiltrate a friend group and they abducted one of your friends and killed them, but implanted all their memories and personality into an agent and then reintroduced that agent back into the friend
There's
group.
no robots here.
When we were 12, what was our keyword?
What was your safe word?
You're not Christian at all.
Mission abort.
Christian comes back, he's just an Asian guy. all the photos, like, him and his kids and wife are just replaced with that same Asian guy. And it's like, wait, it was me all along. Eventually, we just accepted it. Like, close
You
enough.
look a little. Did you get a haircut? You look a little different.
Getting some.
You've been going to the gym?
We're so indifferent to Christian, we just allow it. Like, I don't that. It's all the same.
So why do we think that the Minotaurs are so closely tied to the High Lords of Terra? I can't think of any other examples of chapters that seem to have this relationship with the High Lords so closely, you know?
Yeah.
It's very suspicious.
The High Lords, I think, need a tool, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone else, like the Grey Knights don't answer to the High Lords.
Right. Even though a member of the Grey Knights is on the High Lords.
Yeah. The Custodians don't answer to the High Lords.
Even though they are also a part of it.
Space Marines, in general, like we said before, are very independent and independently minded.
Very autonomous.
Yeah, so the High Lords are like, we need a tool. We need a chapter of our own.
Yeah.
And this is it.
It's
And-
almost like there's a mercenaries, you know? Like, they're kind of just getting recruited.
And like, especially when you consider like the High Lords, one of their jobs is declaring excommunicatus. They're one of the few people that can do it. So of course, if they declare that, they need a way to then deal with that.
yeah,
problem.
it's like we're gonna have to send 10,000 Imperial Guard regiments to take out a rogue chapter,
and
or we could
organize
just
all
make our own.
this and like no.
Yeah.
Yeah, you call a crusade to deal with this, or you
Yeah.
just send your
Yeah.
executioners.
You say, hey Moloch, you ever heard of the Inceptors before?
So usually Space Marine chapters are fairly autonomous, right? They'll make their own decisions about what they want to do.
And also, I
this
can
is an outlier because they are taking leads and instruction from the High Lords.
What?
Which is really weird because they're like a warrior race. Like, these are a warrior chapter. Like, they're very berserker. So it's almost like they can't think for themselves. Maybe they are too bloodthirsty and they need this kind of instruction. Maybe they do go hand in hand. Maybe it's a mutually beneficial exchange.
Well,
but it's also weird and suspicious. Like, I don't
So
trust
they-
the High Lords.
Don't be suspicious.
I think the thing is, we don't know if it's confirmed, like how much the High Lords have done. Like, we have a couple instances. Like, the High Lords have definitely told other chapters to go do things, and then they've done it as well. They do have that ability to say, go
Sure.
do that. And
Of
the chapter
course.
will most likely say, sure, absolutely, High Lord of Terra. Thank you for the honor. Like,
But we do have a distinction between the speed that they react.
Yeah. There definitely is something there for sure. But
Yeah.
the big point I want to make too is that they're not following every order of the High Lord. Like, they're not just waiting. They're waiting, and then the High Lord say something, they'll go do it. But it might be 100, 300 years before they get
an
their next
order.
order.
Okay. Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to.
So they have some independence where they're like,
Exactly.
they're doing their own thing, and then all of a sudden they get a call and like, okay, go do this thing.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
exactly.
Like, they still are a real chapter,
And they're still autonomous,
outside of the
like-
High Lord's authority.
Right.
But it's like at some point
When they call,
like the
they
gold
answer.
message comes through, and when the gold message comes,
They drop
you
everything,
everything,
and they go do that thing.
You do that message, you fulfill it, complete it with crazy strength, you know, and then you go back to being your crazy bloodthirsty selves.
Yeah.
I like there might be an element of arrogance too in the High Lords to like, we want a chapter of our own. to command, right?
Interesting.
And like to achieve our objectives and do what we need to done. And that like background politicking is a very like imperial thing.
This might not even be like a chapter of the High Lords in completeness. It might be like there's 4 High Lords that have conspired together
to make this thing
to
happen.
make this chapter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's how many members in the High Lords? There's like 30 or something. There's so many. I don't know.
I thought there was 13, but whatever.
Yeah,
But they rotate, right? Like
there's like the Lords of Terror, which is like a massive
The Senate,
council.
yeah.
and then you have the smaller inner council, which I think is only like 12 or 13.
but don't they constantly
12.
change and
Yeah.
rotate?
So that's the thing. Over the span of the length of the Imperium, people are just gonna die too. So you have also different High Lords like taking spots. Different like organizations will rise to prominence and get kicked out of the High Lords, and it's almost like the UN Security
Yeah.
Council where they kind of vote out.
Yeah.
Someone who's like, oh, we don't like the way you're doing business. We all vote you out. Bring in the Mechanicus. Oh, they're kind of going rogue. Kick them out. Bring in the assassin. You know.
Yeah. So it does flux.
Yeah, there's
and
some
change.
Yeah, some rotation. The
So
only permanent positions I think are the Custodies and I think another 2
Assassins, maybe?
possibly. Yeah.
Something to do with the Inquisition.
Well, I mean, like, what are the Minotaurs getting out of this exchange?
That's a good.
Maybe
Okay.
maybe maybe it's because of their relationships with the High Lord of Terror. They are one of the most they have the most supplies.
Yeah.
Right? They
No,
said they're
that's-
one of the most stocked up, and
Yeah.
that's obviously for this reason. Maybe that is the sole
The
reason
incentive,
while
yeah.
they're happy to be
You
compliant.
want some cool? Hey kid, you want some cool?
Because like
stuff?
Space Marines don't necessarily like just being told what to do every day of the week, right? They do kind of do their own shit, but these guys are a little bit of an exception. So
Some of that I think can tie back to Moloch and his desire to constantly see his chapter tested.
Yeah.
And that might be through the manipulation of his memories. Like, we want to instill in you your desire to push and test yourself, because if we do, then anytime we point you at a Space Marine, instead of viewing it as like a whoa, that's my battle brother, you just see it as yes,
challenge.
another person to grind
Prove
into
myself
dust.
against.
maybe the High Lords are giving them the best battles. That's why they're
Yeah.
for it. Maybe,
Kind of like
I mean,
orcs. Like,
Yeah, right, yeah,
we're looking
kinda.
for the best fight. I know you got fights for me.
Like these just seem
Yeah.
like Space Marines, but like corn, but the other side. They're like good corn. You know what I mean? Like that's the vibe I get.
Wait. Who said corn was bad?
Almost everyone.
Like, I assume that they want to fight. Like they seem like a grizzly bunch, but they obviously like battle and they like that close combat.
Yeah.
And the messiness of it. So yeah, maybe they just like fighting. Maybe that's an incentive.
But yeah, I would think that without this weird relationship that they have with the High Lords of Terra,
Yeah.
I don't think they would be as nearly heavily armed as they are currently.
And able to redo their numbers and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
That
yeah,
could-
like so they pulled up to Terra. Did they get a bunch? They got a bunch of Primaris Marines first.
Mm-hmm. And then they were one of the first chapters mobilized during the Indomitus Crusade to help clean up all the chaos cults that had sprung up on Terra. So they were fighting on Terra against these chaos cults, and that kind of led to their confrontation with the Custodes and the Imperial Fists during like the whole Hexarchy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there precedent for as much like brain manipulation has been kind of depicted with these guys? Like, is that common for Space Marines?
Oh yeah.
Well,
the
to a degree.
hypno-indoctrination.
To a degree.
I'd assume so,
Yes.
but like to this extent?
Like this is the thing that makes them exceptional. I think,
Right.
is like everyone the same thing when you talk about berserker like or brutal Marines, like Mark said, like technically all Marines are fairly brutal by any other metric, but when you have someone described as exceptionally that, right, it shows they're
Yeah.
at a higher level
Compared
than
to the
standard.
people in the same category.
Right, exactly. So like you talk hypno indoctrination, sure, that's pretty standard across all Marines.
Sure.
But these guys are on another level.
Right.
So,
So what's the function of that?
well, like I said, with the CIA when they infiltrate.
You've got too many connections with the CIA, dude. You've been abducted one too many times. There's three major components here. There's the disappearance of them throughout time. So they have three major appearances. That's suspicious. There's their relationship with the High Lords of Terra. That's suspicious. And then there's the consistent and hectic brain manipulation. That's suspicious also. So how do you connect all these dots?
Dylan, if you'd like to take a quick walk to the other room where no inquisitorial member would like to talk to you about your suspicions,
Wait a second.
all your questions will be answered.
All right, I trust you.
In that you will no longer be able to ask questions.
I've been down this road before. Hey, it's Kristen's friend. Hey, what's going on, guys? Yeah, thoughts and theories.
On how they're all connected, those three things. I don't know, man.
I don't know.
They're just all connected.
Look, guys, their conspiracy, it goes all the way to the top of the High Lords of Terra.
Yeah.
All of that Always Sunny meme with
Charlie?
Charlie, yeah, he's connecting the dots.
Yeah.
The Silva one.
Yeah.
Picture it,
Yeah,
like-
there's the lines
Yeah.
and thread. People commonly use that for the Dark Angels.
but it definitely applies here too.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're all connected to the High Lords.
There's a lot of weird, suspicious things, but I don't think we can draw like a conclusive picture of here's exactly why they are.
No.
But I think we're like, it's pretty obvious that they are like the executioner force of the High Lords. I think that's
Yeah,
as
hear
close as
That
we're gonna
Space
get.
Wolves, you fucking
That's a good
loser.
depiction.
No, they're the Emperor's
Oh,
executioners.
oh,
Totally
oh.
different.
Oh,
totally
I'm the
different.
loser then.
'Cause
The
they haven't
Emperor
done
outranks the
anything.
High Lords, therefore.
Yeah.
They haven't done anything wrong, right?
Well-
They've
Well,
all
wrong is relative.
followed
Punitive
instruction.
actions.
They've done what they're intended to do, what people intended
Yeah.
them to do. So like they're not like they're disloyal.
There's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason I keep making the CIA
Yeah.
comparison. Is like sometimes the government needs some dirty work to be done, right?
Yeah.
And the government doesn't want to necessarily be implicated in
Sure.
that dirty work, so they have some guys that they know that they have a special understanding with to do
Right.
the dirty work for them. So when you want to take out a loyalist chapter that maybe didn't do something wrong enough to do heresy, let's say, you still want them to go away
Forever.
forever, and you need to hire somebody to do that,
Right.
and to keep your secrets.
The problem that leads with, I think, kind of comes at the conclusion of this train of thought is that now you have this chapter that specializes in destroying one of your most powerful forces in the galaxy.
But it's not a bad idea to have that weapon in your back pocket
Sure. But
when
all
you
of a
might
sudden,
need it.
what if that weapon decides to turn its blade on you?
Well, good thing you've spent years hypno-indoctrinating them
So
to
that they don't
prevent
do
them
that.
from turning on you.
Super interesting.
I don't know. It seems like they're
No,
more.
no Space Marine can ever fall to chaos once they're like set in their way.
I'm not even talking. I'm not even talking chaos though. Like we have an example of one High Lord giving them orders, and they're about to fight Custodes over this.
And fists. Just imagine they
Yeah.
pull up to Terra, they wipe out the fists.
Exactly.
Again.
Again, yeah.
Like,
Oh, that's so
and
rough.
then as another High Lord sends them a completely opposite order, and they just follow it.
Yeah.
Like, at what point are they going to be like, you know what? We're just going to take orders from ourselves. Or just a High Lord is going to give them an order, and another High Lord isn't going to be able to step in time.
Yeah.
And this weapon is just going to be turned on something else.
Well, that's a danger with nuclear weapons, man. Sometimes you can't predict where it's going to get fired, right? You just
So
So everyone needs them. Everyone needs one, just in case.
What I could do with a chapter of Minotaurs. Oh, yeah.
Every High Lord has a chapter of Minotaurs.
we call this escalation of force.
Exactly.
Which is a great way to make sure you're safe.
What were you going to say?
Oh, I forgot, but it was good.
Nice.
Awful,
Nice.
awful man.
I mean, like, they get brain manipulated. Oh, go on.
Did we talk about how Astarian Moloch might be a custode? I don't think
Oh,
we did.
no,
Okay.
I was saving that for last.
No, go
Well,
for
this
it.
is the perfect time.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like we're talking about them falling and how dangerous that could be. It's rumored that, you know, if you have a custodes leading this chapter, then definitely
They're
not
never
gonna
going to fall. Yeah.
Crazy.
No custode has ever fallen.
So, how do, like, if he was a custody,
I don't even want to fight that he is there, because there's no proof other than for one line saying, hey, you know, he
he's
holds like a
so-
black spear.
He's so been changed and manipulated. How on earth could it be the same custody that he was 500 years
but
ago?
Custodians live a long time, first of all.
Yes.
They have like extraordinary healing factors, so something that would even kill a space marine, a custodies could theoretically bounce back from. Now, I'm going to lay out all the evidence, because it's actually my personal favorite theory, is that actually he is the...
Well, I'm glad you're
is a
going to fight for
custode.
it and I don't have to.
Yes, I'll do it.
You have my blessing, though.
Okay.
Friends for.
So here are all the evidence before you make up your mind. Yes, he has his spear that is directly compared to the Guardian spear that only Custodes uses. That's why I brought
And
up
now
his
Eric
size.
pulls up the Death Watch captain. Look at that son of a bitch and his power.
Maybe they're all Custodes. Maybe they also run the Death Watch. Have you considered that, Eric? You haven't considered that, have you?
Okay.
High Lords, hear me out. Why make Space Marines when we could just do Custodes? Why make guards when we could just have Custodes?
It's better than Primaris.
Yeah.
Custody.
Yeah.
Hear me out. The size thing, I don't particularly remember him being described as particularly large, but I did bring it up at some point. Custodes do tend to be on the larger
large.
side. And the final thing is, even when he's facing off with that shield captain, Valerian, like for another Custodes to make that comparison, that makes sense, of someone of equal skill or better skill, right?
Sure.
So, and then the obvious weird connection with the High Lords. Custodes have a permanent place on the High Lords of Terra. And for a long time, the Custodes didn't actively engage in imperial politics and stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe they needed someone to do that for them.
Sorry, I missed that. What was your last point?
The Custodes for a long time didn't get involved in politics. They were
Right.
guarding the Emperor at the throne room. Didn't care. The Imperium could burn down around them for all they cared.
Right.
Their mission was that. But, you know, what if they do need to get involved outside of their mission? Well, you get a Space Marine chapter that's completely loyal, psycho-indoctrinated, well-funded, and backed up to achieve your ends.
And led by someone who is
who
your
is
brother.
absolutely loyal and
Right.
will
Yeah.
do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
It kind of fits. I like it.
Yeah, it's kind of
It's my personal favorite theory.
Cool.
All right. So you raised 4 points.
Go, bring it.
The first one was your spear comparison.
Yes.
I think that's a really weak. That's one of the weaker
We're going to give that a
comparisons.
3 out of a 10.
Okay, that's
Rating.
fair. I can agree with that.
There are enough like
Other
different
people.
weapons out there in the universe, and obviously if you see someone wielding it, there's nothing wrong with you being like, I like that and I want that and I'd like to use that.
In older lore, Custody spears were very different than they were to like nowadays, since they have models. Like nowadays they're just bolters strapped on the end.
Yeah.
Back in the day they were like laser spears, which is way more what the black spear is.
Absolutely.
With newer lore, it's hard to make that.
Also,
Yeah.
new Guardian spears, they've introduced like Melta spears and
have they?
las cannon spears. Like they've already introduced these variants.
Yeah, okay.
So
they
we
still
know
exist.
that they are
Sure.
making spears with these other attachments on them. This is hardly the only place that you'll find spears.
That's fair.
being
Yeah,
wielded.
it's not the strongest evidence, but it helps support.
So your next one was the size of the Marine. I think that's even weaker
agree.
than your
sure,
spear
yeah.
comparison.
Tiberius the Red Wake is
Like,
described
yeah.
as
There are
abnormally
many
large.
different
Lots of
sizes.
Death Guard are described as
Yeah.
abnormally large. Okay.
So
You get about
him-
1.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
So,
I
so far
started
you're
with
about
the
4.5.
I
You
started
don't
with the
need 10
weaker
solid,
evidence
yeah.
and built up to the stronger evidence.
So the doubt of the Custodes one I think is interesting.
Very cool thought.
The Custodes are like they're supposed to be this perfect like warrior, perfect skilled. They
Perfectly
don't,
loyal.
They don't make mistakes. Yeah, they have this weird connection, like biochemical, alchemical connection to the Emperor himself. They view themselves kind of outside of the Imperium's power struggle as a whole, like solely focused on the protection of the Emperor to the detriment of any
Everyone
other
else,
thing.
yeah.
So the idea that this Custode is questioning his own skill, I don't know. Like, maybe that means Moloch's skill is amazing, but that doesn't mean, like, he is a Custode. There are creatures out there that are more than capable of destroying a Custodes.
Sure.
Like, that's
Do
not...
you want me to mute this motherfucker for his heresy? I'll do it.
CIA will keep him quiet. Don't worry.
This entire section is about to be redacted.
Yeah,
Beeps, beeps, beeps. So there are things out there that can kill a Custode.
Well, like even during the Horus Heresy, we have examples of world eaters punching straight through
Unarmed world eaters.
unarmed
Naked world
yeah.
eaters killing a fully armored Custodes.
So it seems weird to me that, like, if you're going to give this author, like, the validity and credibility of being like, wow, this must
to
mean
be fair, this was also a more recent
then
Black
you
Library
then I think
book.
you need to go back and compare to all the other authors that also describe
Sure.
Custodes, because you're not going to find
There's not a strong
benchmark.
consistency.
Just
No.
go
Yeah.
read all 500 Warhammer books, and we'll get back to this.
We'll revisit this.
We'll revisit this.
So
one.
his doubt, his personal doubt over his skill,
Yeah.
does not necessarily mean that a completely different shield captain would assess the situation in a similar manner.
Sure.
That other shield captain might assess it and be like, no, I can definitely take Moloch. I see the weakness in him. Because the Custodes are
Maybe,
different.
but Valerius also compares him to other people, one being a
Yeah, has he
Primarch.
fought Gilliman? Does he know Gilliman's actual strength?
Maybe.
Yeah, but
You don't know.
You assume like what he's saying is kind of accurate. It's his own perspective, and you assume he's a renowned
take
enough
it-
warrior.
you're
to-
kind
He
of
also
taking
doesn't say
it-
he
It's
would
not
lose.
proof.
He just
I
says
think
he
we can
doesn't
all
know
agree
if he'll
it's
win.
not proof. It's
No,
Right.
but
It's
that's the thing
more of
about them.
his-
It's the
it's his
mysterious.
personal musings.
You sow enough seeds of doubt, right? And you can't convict. That's all I'm saying.
So the
And the
last
last
one being the Custode puppet. Like, the weird thing is that this chapter is old. Moloch is only 500 years old
Sure.
as the chapter master of this thing. So before then, like, did the Custodes have any kind of relationship
That's
with
where we
the
go back to
chapter?
the face replacement, where they were a
Yeah,
chapter.
but that's happening in M41. What about M36 and M32?
like it's very easy for a guy to just put a helmet on and you don't know who he is.
And they also, like, that's the other thing. Moloch is known not to take off his helmet or his armor. So people don't see his face.
Well, that, if anything, that just makes me think that it's not the same person over and over.
That's
and over.
also the thing. What if the Custodes rotate out of the position? The Custodes do that also. They constantly rotate
yeah,
out
that'd
of
be cool.
positions.
Yeah.
So he's not
it's
just
another
one-
part
But
to watch.
okay,
Yeah.
I can
Crazy.
appreciate
Yeah.
that
That's
way
sweet.
more than I can appreciate one Custode sacrificing his post as
Right.
protector of the Emperor to leave it and just join this Space Marine
Sure.
chapter. That makes way less sense to me than a Custode taking like okay, it's my turn now to be here for 50 years.
Yeah.
And they take their individual vigils
Interesting.
and like
Which means
their
there's a secret role within the Custodes that one individual member has to go and lead this chapter of Space Marines. You know, it's kind of interesting. Does that seem like feasible? I don't know.
Yeah, why
It's
not?
feasible.
Yeah, right, yeah.
It's definitely feasible.
I wonder now with Custodes being back into the setting or whatever.
Yeah.
Do they care anymore if these Minotaurs are their puppets anymore?
Well,
They've
I mean,
got their own
again,
force, like
that whole government thing of like sometimes you got to do dirty
I
work.
guess,
you
yeah,
don't
yeah,
want to be
yeah.
associated with
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
so
yeah.
you use that.
I don't think
third
the
party.
Custodes give a shit.
Maybe not, but they still need to have a certain appearance and like
Yeah.
be, like, again, they can't be
And
seen going around killing other chapters because they're going to think.
Yeah, there's always
People are gonna think
politics
things.
in any scenario,
Yeah.
right? So
So if anyone's going to lead these guys, it's going to be a custode, or they would ideally like to be a custode.
I like the idea of the rotating custody and the fact that Astarion Moloch is more of a title than I do the idea that a single custody has
led them for this
Yeah.
whole time. The other thing is could be a rogue. I'm not going to say that. A rogue custode.
Is there such thing as a rogue custody?
There isn't.
Rogue
That's why it would be a real stretch. But
I feel
it's
like
possible.
If
Anything is possible.
if that were the case, the custodies should be aware of that.
and might even try to stop them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And take a more
That
personal
seems like a
interest.
black mark against the custodies, which they don't like.
Unless he doesn't reveal it, in which case it's like
Another weird thing about the custodies is they're so confident in their own ability. Even the Imperium does. Anytime the custodies are sent to a battle or they're deployed, it's immediately declared a victory for the Imperium before they reach the battle. That's how much faith is placed in these custodies.
Have you seen how shiny their armor is? You'd have a lot of self-confidence as well.
It seems weird that this one would be like, damn, here's a guy I just can't kill. And he's a shield captain.
Right.
He should
Well,
be
it was
able to
after
do
the
it.
assessment. He assessed first,
Yes.
and then he reached that conclusion.
he also doesn't say he can't kill him. To be fair, he just questions whether he could. Right? It doesn't mean I'm gonna lose. Just it might be a tough fight, and I might lose. Versus I'm definitely gonna lose, which is that is a distinction.
But I also don't think that's an indicator of Moloch's custodian status. I think that's more just, wow, there are some Space Marines out there who are extraordinarily skilled
fighters.
beyond what we would say the average. And the first one that comes to mind is Sigismund.
You son of a
Black Tem? What chapter?
I understand your confusion there. Sigismund was actually a member of the Imperial Fish First Chapter, captain of the Black Templar Company, and then it was after... Yeah. Sigismund is constantly referred to as the most deadly swordsman in the galaxy. And so if a custody is seeing Sigismund, do you think that
He might have a
they're
similar
having the
assessment.
same assessment
Possibly.
of that being
Possibly.
okay, maybe this is going to be a tough fight. Maybe I can't kill him. A Luft Huron is supposed to be an amazing warrior from the Bad Ab War. Are the custodies assessing him and being okay, maybe one-on-one I might have a struggle.
Yeah.
But these are singular people out of millions of Marines
Sure. Okay.
that have existed.
Are you ready
over
for the
course
most
of
damning piece
40,000
of evidence that I've been keeping?
I'm ready.
Yes.
All right. Custodies are gold.
Oh my!
Grey Knights are silver.
You son of a bitch,
Oh
you
my
got
God.
me there.
Minotaurs are bronze.
So-
Gold to the bronze.
Something that
So what does that mean besides
colors.
colors and stuff,
Yeah.
like
Olympics.
medals and?
That's all. I'll let you come to your own conclusion.
That's nice. You give us the information, and it's up to us to choose what we do with it.
I do what GW does.
Yes. Thank you. Christian.
Shit writing. Something that we actually never even talked about was the use of psychers in the Minotaurs chapter.
They're codex compliant, so I'd imagine they do have psychers.
I've never seen one,
But
though.
yeah, I've never seen one either.
It seems unlikely.
And they're never
They seem
mentioned.
like a very close combat kind of chapter for them. I wonder how they use their psychers. Is there anything interesting there?
No, I couldn't find
There's just
anything.
no
Oh, okay.
information.
Yeah.
But
Right, right.
presumably they don't say they're against it, and they
Yeah.
also don't say they don't have them.
Right.
I'm sure they're there.
So
They
It's
have
most
to be
likely.
there. They're
Yeah.
codex compliant.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you can. Does Codex Compliant mean you must have
Codex compliant
librarians?
means you follow the codex.
I guess, and they do have. They have
If you're not
places-
pretty
compliant-
black and white,
yeah, if you're
Eric.
not following it, then you're not.
are you
compliant.
codex compliant?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just say
Yeah, I don't
Black-
know.
lack of evidence is not.
Well, let's make sure
Evidence.
Moloch has read the codex so that he has the right rules to make a decision about his own chapter.
Oh, I think they. Eric, do you remember off the top of your head? Do you remember what they recommend using for playing rules on tabletop
Yes.
to get the chapter?
So
tactics?
in the Imperial Armory is where these guys first came out.
Cool.
And they said that they are a custom chapter, but because of their propensity for master siege craft, and they also mentioned their chimeric gene seed, so it's really hard to pinpoint what you'd play them as.
Yeah.
But they most closely resemble the Imperial Fists, which is such a turnaround from what I think you would expect.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great indicator to show the difference between M36 Berserker Minotaurs versus M41 and M32 Minotaurs that were much more willing to work with people in their specialty. And I think that specialty now is more aligned with this siegecraft. Still berserkers, still committing all their forces to a single thing, but not being as stompy boots on the ground, punch a hole through everything.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
But yeah, Iron Imperial Fist is what they said to use as their one.
It's interesting.
That's kind of revealing, hey?
I thought
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was.
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that was really interesting.
One more
What are you thinking, Christian?
side theory. Moloch. This is not him as a custo, just
Just him
His-
as your. This is proof.
His
that he's your-
father.
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Perfect.
my father's a CIA. Excellent. Because Moloch's might be just like super cybernetically enhanced too. Just like all his close calls with death and stuff. Like they rebuilt him over and over again.
Yeah, like
He's
how much
more
of his
machine than man now.
Yeah, yeah.
And also that plays into the whole data feeds. Like he's inputting information, coming up with data, and then because he's pretty much a machine, he can also go and fight frontline and be unstoppable too.
Right.
And he's described as very like a force of nature, machine-like, and how he just like.
Cold-blooded. Yeah.
And
I like his paranoia. I like that it might tie into the fact that, you know, he knows some secret about his own chapter that he's not willing to have
Let out.
spread.
Yeah.
So, and he knows how to deal with other chapters, and he cannot stand the fact that someone else might do the same thing to him. So he's making sure that he's protected and hidden. So
Or like the personality implantation one, where it's different Space Marine, and they just like he adopts the personality of the former. So.
All right. There is another. I mean, we got lots more actually in the Tales of the Warp. So, one of the things I noticed when writing their history is their apparent run-ins with the Ultramarine chapter and Ultramarine successors. We have 3 examples where they directly confront the Ultramarines. The first one is their fight with the Inceptors.
Sure.
And the fact that they annihilate a loyalist I don't know how many times I need to say they completely destroy a loyalist chapter before people start asking questions.
Why did they do it?
So they completely destroy the Inceptors chapter, steal all their good shit, and then just leave.
Yeah.
And they expect no repercussions, which seems crazy to me. And there are no repercussions. No High Lord is issuing like these guys are traitors for destroying, let me say it one more time,
Loyalist.
a loyalist chapter. So that's one.
That's that high terror money, man. That's that thing.
Yeah.
That's that high terror
High
loads in
terror
your back
money.
pocket, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's the only explanation. Like, what else could that be, right?
The
Like,
next, and so because of that, Ultramar denounces them.
yeah, naturally.
And
As you fucking would.
denies them access to Ultramar, which is a pretty big area of space.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the next one we have is the
Wait. Wait, are you leaving this? Or
No. There's 3 examples
Okay,
in total.
okay.
So the next one is the insult to Calgar. And Mark knew this. He mentioned it more to me. I couldn't even find it anywhere. But Mark, you said that they insulted Calgar?
Yeah. Basically, during like their reprimand, whatever that looks like, you know, they're bickering with Calgar, and people are like, "Don't you say Calgar's name in vain?" And the guy's like, "Calgar in vain."
Yeah.
Essentially, it was that. It was like he.
But the willingness to do that to like the Lord of McCraig kind of shows like an arrogance or like an overconfidence in your ability or whoever is backing you and protecting you. Like, I'll say whatever the fuck I want. Like, you don't know what's behind me. You don't know what shadow is there. Or fuck you, Ultramarines, because you're stupid as shit.
It's pretty ballsy. You're pissing off the cups of space. Like, you gotta
And
know
then
what you're doing, right?
the last one I have is they interacted with this Genesis chapter, which was the successor of the Ultramarines. My guess is that this Genesis chapter was one of the ones that swore vengeance against the Minotaurs for the Minotaurs' destruction of the Inceptor chapter and the grievances against Calgar. So these guys are like, you know what? Like, screw you. You know, enough of our honor being besmirched or whatever.
Yeah.
So this Genesis chapter, there's a captain that's going to duel a captain of the Minotaur chapter, and then the Minotaur chapter is like, yeah, I'm just going to kill you if we duel. Like, you're going to die.
Don't fuck with me.
So there seems to be a weird number of Ultramarine specific hatred from the Minotaurs chapter.
They're very different, aren't they? 'Cause,
I
in
don't know
philosophy
why.
And like,
You're
I don't
gonna
know.
hate my explanation.
I'm more than willing.
Honestly, yeah, that's exactly why.
So you think it's an out of universe explanation?
Yeah, like there's a lot of that in 40K. The Ultramarines are very Roman, but they also have a very strong Greco-Roman theme, like the Fortress of Hera.
Like their naked wrestling, yes.
Yeah. No, like things like
That's my favorite.
The Fortress of Hera is like the Parthenon. They have a lot of the Greco side of it. Blue often being like the Athenian color, and the obvious like Athens-Spartan rivalry and the Peloponnesian Wars. So they just wanted to include like, oh, we got Spartan Marines. Let's have Athenian
all the
Marines.
Persian ties and the Macedonian ties and all the other old civilizations.
I'm gonna spank you, Eric.
The Australians.
Yeah, we can confirm.
No,
that.
but like that's why they go so heavy on it, right? Athens and Sparta.
So
like,
you think that it's Games Workshop intentionally
just being
trying to
history
create
nerds.
conflict?
Yeah, and they're just like, this would be cool. We want Athens and Sparta in
It's
space.
cool. It's not as much as I would have liked, but there's
that's
many things.
definitely what they're doing.
There's many things in Games Workshop's writing where you just got to chalk it up to.
They just ripped it from history.
Yeah.
The Macarian Crusade. Alexander the
Alexander
Great.
the Great,
It's
yeah.
just copy paste.
Yeah, I don't think that's egregious. I think that's quite cool. In fact, you would actually know how this story ends if you know history. So how does it all end, man?
Spartans win.
Minotaurs beat the
And then-
Ultramarines. You heard it here first.
And then
Okay.
the Persians win.
Yeah. I'm more just. I saw the.
Which are the
pattern.
Tyranids, if you look into it. I'm just-
I saw the pattern of the Ultramarine conflict, but I hadn't drawn any kind of conclusion. I was kind of shooting in the dark for that.
yeah,
so
that's definitely.
I'm more than willing to
Definitely,
accept that.
Okay.
It's also interesting, just a side note, the Genesis chapter also have a lambda as their symbol, their chapter symbol. And
So
so,
there's more proof
due
of,
to the
like-
Minotaurs. I'm just saying, it doesn't make sense that they're fighting each other. They should be allies.
Mark and I
They're
kind
fighting for
of.
the one true lambda.
Yeah, exactly. That's the insult to honor there. They stole their chapter symbol.
When we were writing this, Mark and I were kind of wondering about how they are constantly renewing their ranks and how are they refilling their chapter so quickly. Combine that with the fact that they are destroying Marines after Marines and their heavy use of hypno-indoctrination. What do you guys think about the possibility of them cannibalizing other Marines, say from the Lamenters chapter or from the Inceptors chapter, and bolstering their own ranks with these guys that they are then mind-wiping and then bringing into their own fold?
I mean, they have to get their new stock from somewhere, right? So,
It's constantly said that it's very fast.
yeah. And they like to do combat pretty quick, so maybe that is the solution.
It
I mean, it seems
It's like
what you're
chaos. Chaos Space Marines do a similar thing, and like my big holdup is like, okay, so they killed the Lamentars, now they take them. Why would they fight for them? But with enough hypno doctrine, you can
You're
make,
mind-wiping.
You
You
can do
make
anything
a
to
blank
anybody,
slate.
Like,
Yeah.
Well,
like if Chaos Space Marines can somehow take loyalist Imperial fists and turn them chaos, like
anything is possible.
Sure, why not? Like,
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, that's my
But
thought.
do you like the idea of this cannibalization, or do you
yeah,
prefer thinking that they only...
I like to think they recruit their own, personally.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with Christian. It seems more fitting. I think you need a certain kind of person or personality to join this chapter, and I think they look for that. Maybe they convert it, but I don't think they convert it from their enemies.
I think that almost anything can be programmed into
Sure.
someone's brain.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole, like, the way they do battle, they don't take prisoners. It's not typical for them. So, like, why would there be survivors? Right?
Exactly.
Well, we
Why
know
would
we know there were survivors of the Inceptor chapter because they had to surrender,
Sure.
right? But we don't hear anything about the Inceptor chapter after. And
Like I could say they have done it. I could get on board that they probably have
Yeah,
done
but is it
that.
typical?
Is that the typical practice?
I don't think so.
No. But I like that idea for sure.
Yeah,
They're taking everything else.
Yeah, exactly. What's stopping them from?
That's
like,
fair.
it's just another resource for
Alternatively-
Malek's war
Yeah.
machine.
And if you can already take fully developed Astartes,
Why not?
Why the
The
fuck
work
not?
is done for you.
Yeah,
You just do the hyper indoctrination.
They
to
do
get them on your
constantly
side.
say that they do the hypno indoctrination, and they do it over and over,
Yeah.
repeatedly,
repeatedly,
which would
regularly.
be,
Yeah, so they're
Maybe-
constantly being just bathed in brainwashing.
Yeah.
Go into battle. Bring me back brains. So we need more brains for more manipulation. More brains, and they just go over and over and over again. I mean, yeah, theoretically, that kind of fits once you give it that kind of explanation. They are
like
stealing everything else.
So Eric, you're gonna hate
Potentially.
this explanation, but in history, actually,
Son of a bitch. All right, and then I have one more topic to talk about.
Okay.
And this might be a doozy.
Oh.
It's the chimeric gene seed and the Primaris program. So I got a couple thoughts about this. One, chimeric gene seed is stupid as shit. Please don't ever write a chapter.
You really don't like that?
I don't
As
like.
long as it doesn't make you super special, boys. But
Yeah,
I don't see
but
the problem with it.
That's how
personally.
it always fucking happens.
Sure, just don't write it stupid. That's all.
Okay, so
Then
here's
why write it at all if it doesn't have a purpose?
yeah.
Well, I mean, if you give it a legitimate purpose, like I like the cannibalization if you don't have enough resources. That's a good reason to do it, right?
Is the chimeric gene seed, is that multiple Primarchs kind of fused together? Is that the idea?
The idea,
gene seed from
the more understood idea of chimeric gene seed is that you supplement your organs with the organs from another gene seed
Gotcha.
to make up for the deficiencies in your own, but also maybe to impart some kind of genetic disposition. Like you can combine the Imperial Fist and the Ultramarines, and you might come up with something different.
It's an
But
amalgamation.
that's
there.
the thing
Yeah.
that pisses me off about Gene Seed generally is because it shouldn't be linked to your personality.
I
And that's
agree.
why I don't
or
care.
even combat ability.
Right, exactly.
No.
So that's why I don't care if
Yes.
people do it because it shouldn't affect. Now, when people do it too effectively,
But
like, I want to
everyone
have
is like, okay,
Ultramarine and
I want close combat and shooting.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I'll have Blood Angels mixed with
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's so frustrating. Too many people put too much stock in the fact that if you are a Blood Angel successor, that means you are, well, that's a bad example. If you are a Dark Angel successor,
Well, that's a bad example because technically all Dark Angel successors
Shit.
are
Okay.
under.
let me do another
Chapter
one. If you're a Space Wolf successor,
There you go. There are no Space Wolf successors.
That's right.
Actually, there was one, but it was destroyed. The Steel Wolves or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
But so try again.
Imperial Fist successor.
There we go.
Salamander
People say-
successors.
They don't have any.
Okay, go.
Where are all these successors coming from? Then?
Ultramarines.
It's
you
all a
son of bitch.
conspiracy.
So
your point has been defeated before it even started.
I think too many people, yes, they put too much stock in the genetic heritage of a successor, and they assume if you're an Ultramarine successor, it
will
means
be
you
like-
are just a carbon copy of the Ultramarines. Right. And that's just wrong. You can be whatever you want to be. The chapters can be built for specific purposes, deployed to specific campaigns, and it doesn't really matter where your gene seed comes from. You're a fucking Space Marine, and you're going to do combat as best, as what
the chapter
your-
dictates.
Yeah, as whatever tradition you were raised in,
your culture.
Yeah, your home world, I would say, has a way bigger effect on how your chapter traditions and your cults and your war making.
That's nurture, right? It's
Yeah.
nature, but the gene seed gives you the nature, and then you're still at the impact of what you're surrounded by. So that's your nurture. So it's a balance of both. You get the biology from the gene seed, but you could have any influence. The gene seed doesn't give you philosophy.
Right. So that's why I don't like chimeric. But moving on.
Chimeric gene seed. So we'll talk a little bit more about it. So you guys mentioned it could be one guy has multiple different organs.
I think that's the more well understood chimeric.
I would say so too. Yeah. Another option could be like Chaos Space Marines use chimeric gene seed a lot, where they have an Imperial Fist now who is a Black Legion guy. They also have a Salamander guy.
It's the chapter as a whole draws.
That's
the
my
gene seed from
cannibalization.
different-
Yeah.
That's them having Inceptor Marines in their own thing, and
Yeah.
now their chapter is chimeric.
Exactly.
Right.
So
That's cool.
maybe that's where their chimeric gene seed comes from, is the fact that they are cannibalizing these Marines into their own force.
Yeah. And they're not intermixing Inceptor DNA necessarily or
Into
gene
the
seed
chapter as a
into the-
whole.
Yeah.
We don't think so, at least.
Yeah. Who
But-
knows? Hard to say, but
Hard
I
to
mean,
say.
you take the gene seed where you get it from, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool.
Yep.
Just
So
grab
here's-
yours and we'll
I'll take it wherever I can get it.
psycho indoctrinate. Yeah, Mark's just
Here's kinda
gene
where that
seed
line-
gene seed dumpster.
Gene seed dumpster. Here's kind of where that line of logic leads me, though.
Okay.
And it has to do with them rushing to Terra because of their faulty, corrupted gene seed stock. Now, we know that Space Marine chapters need to send a tithe back to Terra and Mars to the gene vaults, not only to do tests on their gene seed to make sure, the lack of corruption is acceptable, but also to build up the stores for when Terra needs to create new chapters.
Yeah.
So these Minotaurs are sending stock back to Terra. At what point would Terra be like, hey, wait a minute, this gene seed is chimeric, when they're doing their testing on it? So
Yeah,
I think people would know about it. It should be fairly obvious when the genes are like, this one is very obviously Rogel Dorn, and this one is very obviously Sanguinius.
Unless.
No, let me finish the thought.
Okay.
So if they had chimeric gene seed, I think more people would know about it, unless there's some kind of conspiracy. But They're on their way to Terra to replace their gene stock, but that doesn't happen immediately. What happens first is they're given gray shields from the Primaris project that Call did. Now, when Call is giving people out these gray shields, he's giving them from their own genetic ancestors. He's giving Ultramarines, Ultramarine Primaris, and he's giving Imperial Fist, Rogel Dorn's genetic, descendants. Yeah. So when he gives these Minotaurs their Primaris Marines, is Call giving chimeric gene seed to these guys?
Or giving a random allotment of whatever's left.
That doesn't make any sense, though.
Like the Grey Shields used to fight as like a hodgepodge of different heritages.
Yeah, they were put together. But
so like
when
it
they're
could be
given
like
to
whatever's left, though, they're like, oh yeah, these are just left here. Take these.
But they were the first, chapter to receive.
Sure,
Primaris
but they
Marine
probably
infusions.
earmarked like this group will, after they're done being deployed, will go eventually to the Ultramarines.
So you're
This
saying
group will
it's more
eventually-
likely that they were
I'm
given
not saying
a whole bunch?
any of it is likely.
It seems weird to me that in all the other examples we have is that Ultramarines got Ultramarines and Imperial Fist got Imperial Fist. Black Templar got Imperial Fist.
That same argument will be leveled at every unknown one because, like, what do we give the guys that we don't know what their origin is, and what do we give guys who we do know are chimeric, or what do we give? Right? Like, it's not like when they founded certain chapters. Sometimes the people founding the chapters had ulterior motives. They messed with the gene seed of the cursed founding. It's not like they're purists either. So it's not like they're particularly picky or gonna say something. Right?
Okay.
You have to explain it for everybody else, or people who they allege have traitor gene seed. Even it's not like Call's like, here, take some Luna Wolves. Like, although that is a thing that they're talking about.
He didn't make it. I thought he was not allowed to make
allegedly.
You're also not
Call's
allowed
not
to
allowed-
tamper with space marines.
And there's called
But that was an
tampering.
order from Gilliman. That's a little different.
Right, and Gilliman is not the emperor. Let's get that straight away.
He's the Lord Commander of the Imperium.
But the Emperor
Mechanicus
is still
doesn't
like
answer to the
the
Imperium.
Emperor.
It's true.
Emperor's
It's
still alive?
true.
Yeah. So
I just it
Look at
feels
Christian's face. That's smug satisfaction.
Now, will you admit defeat, Eric, or will you like more of a beating?
part of me thinks that this whole chimeric gene seed, the lack of it's fucking hot in here.
I know.
First
Can we
of
get
all,
some air?
We're almost done.
I know. Okay, I'll sweat it out.
It's like
Sorry,
sauna.
guys.
your shirt is like soaked in sweat.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's crazy.
It's hot.
There's a lot of hot energy.
So I think that this whole chimeric thing and the lack of knowledge of where their gene seed originates from, if anything, I think that adds even more strength to the idea that they are being manipulated from behind the scenes, and the High Lords are trying to find that right combination that they're looking for. They made these Minotaurs in M32, and they had this purpose, and we're like, no, it's not quite right. Let's go back to the drawing board. They infused them with a little bit different gene seed in M36 to get a little different result. They got some crazy wacko scientist to do it. Not quite the result they're looking for. But it feels like an M41, with Moloch especially, they've kind of perfected the idea that they're looking for. And now with this infusion of Primaris Marines, maybe one of them had a special part of the... I don't fucking know. I'm kind of talking out my ass at this point. But to me, there's enough opportunities for their gene seed to be manipulated.
Right.
And there's enough changes in how they act and how they respond to stuff that I'm more willing to accept that someone is actually behind the scenes manipulating their stuff.
That's literally what I was going to say way back when I interrupted you. I was like, the High Lords are clearly screwing with things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
They can falsify paperwork. They can have people that work directly
against the
for
law.
them do it.
It's against the law.
They would never falsify a
That's the one
signature. Yeah, I was just going to say, like, it just reinforces that tie that they have powerful benefactors.
Yeah, I'd say it's most likely because they directly benefit from it, right? So
Yeah.
obviously they got their fingers in the pie.
Yeah.
Scary shit.
Can you think of maybe some of the loyalist gene seeds that they might use? Like, what's your top guess?
For loyalists, I don't really have one. Like the big thing is they seem to be like super aggressive, super angry. So you naturally go towards a chapter like that, like Blood Angels, but
Sure,
Black
yeah.
Rage. So
Yes.
I then switch and I go to World Eaters.
That's actually one of the few chapters I would be confident they aren't related to at all.
yeah, exactly. Confident
Yeah.
that they're not Blood Angels.
Same with Space Wolves, because they don't have any of that Canis Helix bullshit, which is absolute stupid and bullshit.
But then again, like, fuck, now it's all Primaris Marine, so who knows what they
But
have.
back then,
But
though, back
even
then,
even
they
to right
would've-
before the infusion
Yeah.
of Primaris Marine,
you would have seen something.
Yeah.
And I'm also willing to say no to Dark Angels.
Sure.
But I do like the idea of like a Black Templar more than like an Imperial Fist.
Ultramarine successor. Because it's all just Greek states fighting
I
each
mean,
other.
yeah,
Yeah.
it could just be an
A
Ultramarine
little poetic
thing.
justice.
Yeah.
Now help me out here. Which is the chapter? They're like 8 foot tall. They're really muscly,
Yeah.
big teeth, green skin.
Yeah.
Which chapter is that? Because I think they would propagate the best genes here. Maybe
That is
chapter,
some deep heresy.
Space Marines need to take the leaf out of that page.
I think that chapter is called Big D's Warband.
Oh, I see. Yes, it is one of the lost Primarchs. It's me. Sorry, guys.
One quick thing to reinforce the World Eater connection. The World Eaters were previously the Warhounds. These guys are the lapdogs of the Imperium.
Ooh, another connection. Pull that string tight, Christian.
I'm forming my tinfoil hat on my head.
Putting your clown makeup on. The string of the Warhounds.
They wear the same color.
Gold, silver, bronze.
Oh my god.
It was the missing color.
The Greeks started the Olympics.
9/11 was a hoax. Fuck.
Jet fuel can't melt steel beams.
But Space Marine acid can. Space
right.
Marines melted the steel beams on 9/11 with their acid spit.
Oh my god.
What a
It
derailment.
all makes sense.
And that's Primaris.
Wake up, you sheeple. Holy smokes.
So fuck their gene seed, wherever it comes from, whoever it is.
Doesn't
I'm
matter.
just glad they're there.
They are a loyalist chapter, but I do think
With heretical tendencies?
Which is different from a heretical chapter with loyalist tendencies. Like the Dark Angels.
right. Brother Asterion, you're being particularly heretical today. No, it's in this order I got from a High Lord of Terra, sealed and signed.
Fine.
All right.
Poof. Well, that is the end of the Minotaurs chapter.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything else they want to add before we thank all of our new Patreon members?
For someone who didn't really know much about this at the start of this episode, these guys are pretty fucking sweet. I'm not gonna lie. Like
sweet,
they're
yeah.
they're just hardcore. They're brutal. Like they've got a suspicious background. There's enough intrigue there, and they're also just warriors. Thematically, they're Spartan. I know there's a lot of very likable elements that are very 40k feeling.
I agree. There's a lot in there that is cool enough to sink your teeth into.
Yeah, you can't hate a horde army with a bunch of choppers. Like these guys are pretty sick. So
Mark, Christian, anything else?
I don't know. Do we want to go around the table and say one final 30-second thing? What do you think the Minotaurs are?
what are you most grateful for the Minotaurs
That's right.
for?
Yeah.
Punitive actions.
I really like the deploying as a whole chapter.
Yeah.
I am glad that it's not a common thing.
Yeah.
Because when you see it in this chapter, it just feels so much like the gravitas is so much more powerful.
It is funny too to think like it is only 1,000 guys. So like it's not
Right.
this grand parade, but
It's true, but
It's-
but five Marines,
be glad there's not more.
No more, no less. That's
five
it.
Marines can take on a planet themselves.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So 1,000 Marines.
I was gonna steal the same thing. I think them all fighting as one unit and only one unit
Yeah.
is probably the coolest thing. I also like that. But I'll go back to their aesthetics. I do really like the Spartan feel. I think it's cool to have 300's awesome, man. So to have that in Space Marines, it's just jacked up to 11.
The most
Fucking
historically accurate movie ever made.
cool. Yeah, it's true.
It's how I learned all about the fight at the Hawk Gates. Christian, do you have anything to add about the
I
Minotaurs?
think they're probably my favorite chapter. I like their
Yeah, really.
I like their secret ties. Like, yeah, everything else you guys mentioned is really sweet, but it's that like connection that explains it all in a decent manner, not just like
Yeah.
Mary Sue's them that they're not interesting. It's like that weird connection. Even if they didn't have the Spartan theme, even if they didn't, do all that other stuff, like I would totally think a cool CIA Black Ops kind of dark,
Yeah.
doing the dirty work kind of chapter is just a cool concept altogether
Yeah.
that like has ulterior motives.
They get away with killing other space
yeah.
marines. That's the coolest shit. Yeah.
If ever I actually had a problem with them, it's the fact that they seem to have no repercussions for
Yeah.
the heavy-handedness. that
Until
they-
it's explained.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's until it is explained, that is
Yeah.
my biggest
Right.
Yeah, because you assume
know.
the conspiracy goes way up the tower, right?
Yeah.
So there's a reason they can get away with it. Let's
Yeah.
assume.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
All right, sick.
Well, I think the next part
stuff.
is we got to thank all of our brand new patrons.
Yeah, thanks. Shout out to all our existing patrons.
Oh, of
You guys
course.
are the true heroes of the podcast. Like, I did some math yesterday. You know, we only got like 0.5 to 0.1% of our listeners on our Patreon. Isn't that an absurd number to hear?
Wow.
So what are you guys doing out there?
Just consuming free content.
No excuse.
Like, do I need to say more on that, or are you
Does
guys
he need
gonna-
to unleash some minotaurs on your ass?
Yeah.
But
and Eric-
if potentially you needed a reason to join our Patreon, first of all,
Besides shame and me just
right.
belittling
If
you.
the guilt isn't already eating at you, what you should do is you should join our Patreon, and then you should enter into our contest on our Discord.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be how you really flex that green tag.
Wait a second. Are you saying there are contests that people can enter in on our Discord? Is that what you're saying?
If you are a Patreon member.
Get on Patreon, guys. Support it.
So these are all people that I do expect to see in our next contest, and that would be thank you to Thomas, Christian, Thad, Kyle, Raz, Micah, Adam, Arvid, A2286NBEIBF4, Brain, John the Fool, Eric, Thomas, Mike, Miguel, Brian, Papal, Papal? Papal.
Yeah, PayPal.
Marcus, Nick, Eduardo, Weenus McGuinness, Ben Flug, Deaths McGee, Actual, Awanderer Soul.
A wanderer soul.
Oh my god.
Eric? Mark just corrected Eric.
Easy. I can read it because it was 3 words all clumped into one. So it wasn't actually
That's how you
a
always read.
language.
Thank you to Darth Horace, Paul, James, Parker, Alex, and Atsuyo. Guys, thank you so much for
Honestly,
contributing.
thank you so much.
We look forward to seeing you hang out on our Discord with us.
I thought you said we look forward to spending your money, but just
I would never.
me. Then.
Yeah, thank you to Christian and Dylan for joining us on the show. I hope you guys had a
boys.
good time.
Yeah, appreciate it. And now that you finished this podcast, why not tune in to Let's Talk Lorehammer? That is the sister podcast to Lispo one, and you get to listen to me and my buddy Matt talk shit about everyone in this room. And this will be the highlight of the next episode. You thought it was gonna be a pub quiz. It was gonna berate you guys for half an hour. So
Oh, you're going to do How Did Lorehammer Hurt You Part 2.
I've got
Show
way
me,
more content
show me
now.
on the doll where Lorehammer hurt you.
But if you are listening to this, I assume this is going to come out in time. Do jump into the pub quiz. Send me a message. Make a team. It's going to be a really cool episode.
Yeah,
so get
it's gonna be
involved.
I'm excited
Yeah.
to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it'll be real fun. There may be
Yeah.
even some secret appearances. We shall see.
And with that being said, see you guys next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Because it's another motherfucking podcast. Drop it like a... You can join in. You can join in.
It's so
Oh,
fucking
whatever.
hot in this room.
Yeah, let's go to the beach.
I got no energy left. Oh my god.
I know, right?
Okay, well, let's just all kiss in the center of the table as is tradition, and we'll end the podcast.